Chapter 1. Early morning. In the luxury villa residential area located inside the city, tall gates and walls protect the security of the residential area. A handsome young man, who looked like the reincarnation of a god, was sitting silently on a chair, holding several documents in his hand. Currently, this world has spellcasters and spell spirits. But it's hidden quite deeply. The Conjurer organization has deliberately isolated the concept of cursed spirits to ensure that only a handful of people know about it. Yuan said softly. His face showed a thoughtful look. That's all, let's take a look at today's check-in first. Yuan took a deep breath. The virtual template spread out in front of him came into view. Name, Yuan. Ability, King's Treasure, the ability to connect to the Golden City, connected to the space of the treasure house, and the props in it can be taken out freely. Each item taken out requires 1 point of magic power, omniscient and omnipotent star, seeing all corners of the earth like the radiance of a star, understanding all phenomena, aware of the truth and weaknesses behind the mystery, only a demigod body can fully display it. Current magic value, 1500/1500 items, First Aid Potion 10, Energy Potion 10, Magic Burning Bottle *5, some gems. Number of accumulated sign-in days, 1 day, yes/no sign-in. Let's try it. Yuan clicked directly to extract without politeness. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in. Get a reward, the magic power limit is increased by 100. As expected, it's a guarantee, but it's still better than consumables. Yuan shook his head. He knew that the sign-ins accumulated for just 1 day would not produce anything good. It has been half a year since he traveled to this world, from a social worker to a high school student now. He was just rescuing people on the street, but he was suddenly taken away by a dump truck. Next time, please respect other people's fate. And not long after he crossed over, I discovered that this world is not an ordinary world, but a fusion of the daily worlds of previous lives, and many anime characters appear here. Even the schools are Shichaiwan and Tiakao Junior High School. He originally thought that he was just a social worker, and at least his grades would be good when he returned to high school. Unexpectedly, I almost ended up at the bottom every time. Because he hadn't drawn the omniscient and omnipotent star at that time. When he drew this thing during the summer vacation, the final grades came out. Otherwise, he would have to launch a Dragon King counterattack without saying anything. As for other aspects, when he first crossed over, he wasn't much stronger either. After all, he has no talent in painting or writing. Fortunately, he relied on the sign-in system he brought to become a rich generation in this world. Although it is a sign-in system, but it's not the kind at a designated location. You can sign in every day. But if you accumulate the number of sign-ins, you can sign in more powerful things. When Yuan understood this truth, I immediately saved up the remaining sign-in days, and after saving for more than 3 months, I got a good thing, the King's Treasure a few days ago. With the help of some gems in the King's Treasure, he easily became a multimillionaire. With the help of the King's Treasure, even if we face those cursed spirits, we can basically annihilate them easily. Yuan groaned. There are many destructive things in King's Treasure, and there are also protective ones, such as the pendant around his neck. This will prevent the sneak attack from the curse spirit. But if he wanted to defend himself against the surprise attacks of those powerful curse spirits, he would still have to wear armor such as gold armor. It doesn't hurt to disguise this ability as a technique. But having said that, the number of curse spirits is really rising, and they will breed out as long as they are not around for a while. Even if most of them are not lethal, they are troublesome guys. Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly. In his eyes, he could see that in the empty villa hall, the dark mist gradually gathered into a twisted figure. Mixed with negative emotions, like a wandering imp. But before this figure started to act, Zilla! An inexplicable light flickered from a place in the villa. The breath of incomparable holiness. This black shadow was completely purified in the blink of an eye, as if it had never happened. Yuan looked at this scene and nodded with satisfaction. It really works. He looked up at a long sword hanging on the wall next to him. The brilliance just now emerged from this long sword, like the aura of an angel descending, enough to purify any offending evil spirits. Its name is Durandal. As expected of one of the 3 holy swords. Yuan chuckled. It is said that the sword contains the tooth of Saint Peter, the blood of Saint Basil, the hair of Saint Denis and a piece of the Virgin Mary's garments. Even if a special level curse spirit is penetrated by this sword, it is normal for it to be instantly killed on the spot. It is also called the Sword of Angels. Placing this sword in the villa is basically equivalent to a 24-hour purification device. Even if there is an evil spirit, it will be automatically eliminated. But the king's treasure is really convenient. Whether it is released or recovered, it only costs 1 point of magic power, even for a holy sword like Durandal. As long as it is connected to the treasure house, there is no need to worry about the risk of any treasure being lost. Yuan squinted his eyes and gradually had a plan in his mind. Of course, he did not intend to go to places where cursed spirits were concentrated. Although he had the king's treasure, his body was not strong. When being restrained, there is no possibility of overturning. He died for meddling in his own business in his previous life. But this time, he didn't intend to take risks easily. Just being a good guy once is enough. If something unexpected happens again, it will be troublesome, adequate arrangements must be made. However, summer vacation ends today. The new semester of the sophomore year of high school will start tomorrow, so I have to prepare well. Yuan stood up and walked towards the warehouse. Of course, he didn't want to study, but he planned to read some magic books. After all, the magic power he possessed had to be put to good use. In this way, even if you don't rely on the king's treasure, he can also make a lot of wealth by selling exorcism tools. P.S. Brothers, please support. Submit some free data. You can also leave a comment. Give the little author some motivation. The first day's data determines everything. 1,000 flowers plus 1 more chapter. 100 evaluation votes plus 1 more chapter. 1 monthly pass adds 1 chapter. Chapter 2. Shuchin Academy. It was founded in the past as an institution to educate nobles and samurai families. It is a prestigious school with a long history, but civilians also have certain opportunities to join it. Whether it's grades or other talents. As long as you meet the standards, you are eligible for admission. As for Yuan, he directly became a transfer student at the school by donating money. Class A for 2 years. Good morning, classmate Yuan. The summer vacation is over now. It feels like it's over so quickly. I agree. I really want to continue playing with red hats at home. As soon as Yuan entered the classroom, many people greeted him enthusiastically. After all, Yuan is usually generous and cheerful. He is very popular both in the class and in the school. Especially if he is handsome. On forums and websites behind the school's back, there are even people offering rewards for taking photos, and you can exchange photos for rewards. Even Yuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he learned about it. Sure enough, appearance is the last word. Yuan nodded slightly and returned to his seat. And among the many students who have just finished their summer vacation, apparently his heart had not calmed down yet, making the whole classroom noisy until a girl with long silver white hair walked into the classroom. She frowned slightly. Everyone, class is about to begin, please be quiet. Hear this. The classroom that was still noisy suddenly became much quieter. Bai Yinghui breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this. She glanced around and saw Yuan. His blue eyes narrowed slightly. Aside. The blonde twin-tail Irie crossed her hands in front of her, and she hummed rather proudly, "You've only been arguing all day long, so you guys are really troublesome. By the way, Yuan, why didn't you come to the art exhibition I participated in before?" She turned her head to look at the handsome young man on her right, squinting her eyes and staring at him with a smile showing some of her fangs. Obviously waiting for a reply. "I wasn't free at the time." Yuan shook his head. "You?" Ying Lily gritted her teeth and turned away with a dissatisfied groan. After seeing that the golden retriever was in a low mood, Yuan continued to smile and said, "But I specially asked someone to take some pictures and hang them in my home." Hearing this, Ying Lily's eyes suddenly lit up. She recalled that when she participated in an art exhibition during the summer vacation, the paintings she exhibited were indeed bought at prices that were hard to refuse. At first she thought it was some big dog owner. But I didn't expect that it would be Yuan. For a while, her cheeks couldn't help but blush. Because she knew that the paintings she painted were not worth such a high price. If you want it, just say it next time. I'll give you a few for free." Ying Lily muttered a few words. While the two were talking, Bai Yinghui sat in the seat in front of Yuan. After hearing the conversation between the two, she turned around and couldn't help but interjected, "Have you two finished your summer homework? When the teacher comes later, I will most likely collect them first. Don't say I didn't warn you then. Bai Yingwei said seriously. She has a pretty good relationship with Yuan and Ying Lily, so if these two people haven't written it well, they can still make up a reason now. Don't worry, with my ability, someone has already written it for me. Yuan smiled confidently. Just kidding, things like summer homework are nothing compared to ability. As for Ying Lily, she scratched her cheek with her slender fingers. I think it's finished, right? But I filled in the multiple choice questions casually. I believe the teacher will not check them carefully. I have never checked them carefully before. Ying Lily replied softly. Bai Yingwei held his forehead and showed a helpless expression, and said to Ying Lily, it shouldn't be a big problem, as long as you don't do too poorly in the test. Otherwise, I will definitely go over your summer homework again. As long as the entrance test is too bad. Usually everything will be fine. But when her eyes fell on Yuan, she couldn't help but feel envious. After all, for students like the other party who enrolled through donations, it is not difficult to get a diploma even if they do poorly in the exam. Hey? What interesting things are the three of you talking about together? Let me, the true eye of the evil king, listen carefully. Wearing a school uniform and an eye patch, Xiaodiao Yuliwa walked up and spoke directly without any politeness, looking at Yuan by the way. Hey, my companion, I haven't seen you for a long time, should you be fine these days? Kodori Yurika said with a soft hum. Well, it's just so-so. Yuan said with a smile. Ever since I was passing by outside the school, I saw the little bird Yurika lying outside the doll shop, looking at one of the dolls through the glass. He helped the other party buy it, and ended up being called a companion. Class is about to begin. If you don't return to your seat, the teacher will come in later and he will definitely flick your chalk. Bai Yingwei said helplessly. Humph. How can such a trivial matter prevent me and my companions from seeing each other again? Xiaodiao Yuliwa put his hands on his hips and snorted dismissively. Yuan looked on with a smile. Just when he was about to continue saying something, the bell rang at that moment. Ding dong. At the same time the bell rang. A woman with a good figure walked into the classroom wearing a black suit with a white shirt and a pleated skirt. It was Shizuka Hiratsuka, the head teacher of Class A of the second year. She has a good figure, holding a textbook in her hand and looking at the students with a smile. I haven't seen you all during the summer. You should all be having a good time. Then let's start announcing the arrangements for this semester. Chapter 3. Following Hiratsuka Shizu's words. Yuan also understood the arrangements for this semester. The first is to strive to maintain their grades, and the second is to hope that students who have not yet paid their tuition fees can collect their tuition fees as soon as possible this month. Then take the exam seriously for the first semester and so on. Basically, it was not much different from what he had learned. And at this time, he suddenly noticed that Bai Yingwei in front of him seemed to be struggling with something, and then he took out a piece of paper and started writing. However, at this distance, one can easily see clearly in front of the omniscient and omnipotent star. About your part-time job arrangements this month. In other words, Bai Yingwei hasn't collected the tuition fee yet. After Yuan saw the words above clearly, he touched his chin thoughtfully. If you think about it carefully, this kind of thing doesn't seem strange. After all, the tuition fees at Shichaiwan are no joke. It is difficult for even a well-off family to support top students like Shiro Gainkei. Even with the blessing of scholarships, it is not easy to raise tuition fees. No wonder after hearing Shizuka Hiratsuka mention it. As the squad leader, Bai Yongqiu will have a sad look on his face. But this kind of small money is just a drop in the bucket for Yuan. Certainly. He won't act like a good old guy and help in vain. But if classmates help each other, it's a different story. After school, just as the students in the classroom were starting to pack their books and go home, Bai Yingwei packed his things in a hurry and planned to go to a place where he worked to earn tuition fees. Squad leader. Yuan suddenly said. After hearing his words, Bai Yingwei turned his head subconsciously and saw Yuan with a gentle smile on his face, hiding his anxiety. Monitor, I'm going to study hard this semester. Can you come to my house this weekend? Just treat it as a make-up lesson and I will pay the dues. Yuan said with a chuckle. Bai Yingwei was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and then hesitated in his heart. She knew that Yuan's family must be very rich, otherwise he would not be able to enter Zaihu Zaiwan, a high school, and he was usually not stingy. But if she was asked to serve as the other party's tutor, she doubted whether she was up to this level. And if Yuan really wants to hire a tutor, you can go directly to those famous teachers. By the way, I can also advance the tuition fees for 1 month. In terms of the number, it's almost this amount. Yuan said with a smile and gestured. And this number happens to be the cost of tuition just now. For a while, even Bai Yingwei reacted and looked at Yuan with gratitude in his eyes. Obviously this matter has nothing to do with classmate Yuan, but the other party went out of his way to help. You must know that it is not easy for her family to come up with the money. The so-called tutoring is just a cover. Well, from now on, you can ask me for anything in school. Thank you, classmate Yuan. Bai Yingwei said seriously. She couldn't refuse the sponsorship, because she knew it was already difficult for her family to raise money for tuition. And if she keeps working, it will also affect her grades. If she fails to get a scholarship this semester, she will be in trouble. Yuan chuckled and waved his hand. It's just a small matter. By the way, this is my home address. Just come here when the time comes. Yuan wrote down his address and handed it to Bai Yingwei in front of him. Well. Bai Yingwei took the address with a slightly red cheek. She has never been to the home of other students of the opposite S**X, and this is the first time. But she still believes in Yuan's character. Well, classmate Yuan, let's add a friend. Bai Yingwei said softly. Her beautiful long silver white hair reaches her waist, and her cute cheeks have a little blush, making her look very beautiful. Especially when paired with Shuchen's school uniform, they complement each other even more. Yuan also nodded slightly. He took out his mobile phone and added Bai Yingwei as friends. After finishing her work, Xiaodiao Yuliwa came forward. She patted Yuan on the shoulder with a confident smile on her face. Humph! My companions are waiting for me. Let us repair the world together. Kodari Yurika said with a serious face. The response to her was a merciless blow from Yuan. Boom! At the same time, the sound of the hand knife sounded loudly. The painful little bird Yuliahua covered her head and squatted on the ground, looking at Yuan pitifully with tears in her eyes. Yuan! Why did you sneak attack on me? Speak in human terms. Yuan said unceremoniously. He had no intention of falling in second place with Kodari Yurika in front of other people. Otherwise, based on his popularity, I'm afraid tomorrow it would be changed from the fact that he has a Chiyunabihu to the fact that he is a depressed patient who has killed people. Don't underestimate the distortion power of public opinion. Kodari Yurika covered her head, stood up from the ground and puffed up her cheeks. Would you like to go see the latest ghost movie today? I heard there are very scary guys in it. If you don't go, the screening will be over. Kodari Yurika muttered. Her eyes were on Yuan, with a little expectation in her eyes. Hearing this, Yuan sighed lightly. He knew that Xionio Yuliwa definitely didn't dare to go alone, so he planned to drag him along. Okay, let's go take a look. But don't make a fool of yourself in the movie theater then. Yuan did not refuse. After all, it's not bad to watch a movie with a beautiful girl. And if it was a ghost movie, he also wanted to see if it would attract the corresponding cursed spirit in this way. Consider that mantras are derivatives of negative emotions. So in a movie theater showing horror movies, there is indeed a high chance that a cursed spirit will appear. If you encounter it, it's time to try out the other items in the king's treasure. Yuan thought to himself. He followed the little bird Yurika who was walking leisurely. He picked up his school bag and left the classroom. Chapter 4. Cinema. Yuan looked at the little bird Yuliahua buried in his arms with black lines on his head. He knew that this girl would be scared when she arrived at the scene. What does it mean to be both dishy and fun-loving? However, this horror movie is indeed quite scary, especially the weird accompanying music and the sudden opening of the door to kill, which scared many young couples who came to join in the fun. A guy like this is not worthy of me, the evil king's true eye, so I'll leave it to you, my friend, to handle. This is also to deepen the bond between us. Xionio Yuliahua covered her ears and muttered in Yuan's arms. Like a soft hamster buried in sawdust, the girl's slightly blushing cheeks and soft and fragrant white neck are clearly visible. Although I noticed the sight. But Xiaodiao Yuliwa didn't seem to have any intention of letting go. He just buried his head deeper, as if to cover up the beating in his heart. The corners of Yuan's mouth raised slightly, but he didn't say much. He just raised his palm and placed it on the girl's head, stroking the smooth hair and looking around with his eyes. But the next second, his pupils contracted slightly. Because with the insight of his omniscient and omnipotent star, he discovered that there was a very huge black smoke on the body of one of the audience members. There is no doubt about it. This is definitely the scariest guy Yuan has seen since he obtained the omniscient and almighty star. The level of the cursed spirit is completely different. Well, according to the information fed back by the omniscience and omnipotence, the level of this cursed spirit is almost special. In addition, it also has the ability that no matter what kind of trauma your body suffers, it will be restored to its original state under the pull of its soul. This technique is, inaction transformation. Yuan narrowed his eyes. In his memory, the only guy with this ability was the real guy. If you want to hurt someone with this technique, you must completely kill the opponent's soul, which is the item targeted in King's Treasure. Not that there is none. If we use the sea-breaking sword, there is indeed a possibility of killing him with one strike, but since we didn't take the initiative to provoke him, let's just wait and observe first. At least there is no need to do anything in this movie theater, and his ability is quite troublesome, so just pretend you haven't seen it. Yuan made a corresponding judgment while thinking in his heart. The sea-breaking sword is a divinely made weapon that can burn away even the sea of 10,000. This divinely made sword contains the concept of horizontal line. This is the end of sky and sea. The ultimate in melting the realm of confusion. If the direction of dawn is given here, it means the furnace that dissolves all things. Good and evil, the sky and the ocean, enemies and hostile things all dissolve and disappear equally in the dawn, and the so-called soul is no exception. But I want to burst out the power of a specific noble phantasm. There is also a consumption of magic power. Unless necessary, Yuan does not intend to collide with the special level curse spirit now, unless the opponent dares to provoke him. That's another story. The entrance to the cinema. Yuan stretched out his hands and pinched Xiaonao's soft face angrily. Is this what you said you would take me to watch a movie with? Why do I seem to be the only one who watched it from beginning to end? My best friend. Let go. Xiaodiao Yuliwa tried her best to escape from Yuan's clutches, holding her cheek in pain and her face was red. Humph. This is actually all to test your determination, my partner. Now it seems that it has passed successfully. Xiaodiao Yuliwa said with a serious face, showing no sign of being scared into a ball just now. If Yuan hadn't known about this girl's Chiyunibihu nature, he will definitely praise the other person to become an actor. Forget it, I've watched the movie, it's almost time for you to go home. Yuan glanced at the time. It was already getting late in the evening, and the other party would definitely be scolded if he came home late. But before leaving, Yuan took something out of his pocket and handed it to the little bird Yuliahua in front of him. This is a talisman pendant. I give it to you as a gift. Although it is unclear what the purpose of the real person's appearance is. But if this scourge appears here, it must be plotting something. Must be prepared. Xiaodiao Yuliwa stared blankly at the pendant. It was a gold ornament in the shape of a solar eclipse. Both in terms of workmanship and appearance, it was absolutely exquisite. And such a thing. Yuan actually took it out and gave it to her. Could it be? Xiaonaio Yuliwa thought of something, her cheeks turned red all of a sudden, and her heart swayed. She subconsciously raised her head and took a look at the young man's handsome face. Since it's a gift from my companion, you're welcome. Things like this must be precious. She muttered hesitantly, but her ears were already stained with red. Kotori Yurika stretched out her hand to take the pendant. She carefully took the pendant and put it on her fair neck, with an expression of unbearable joy on her face. At the same time, just then a figure walked out of the cinema. It was a young man about 20 years old. His face was covered with sutures, but it was covered by a hat. He glanced at the crowd. After staying on Yuan's body for a moment, he narrowed his eyes and turned to leave. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the bustling sea of people. Chapter 5. For Yuan, this kind of gadget was just made casually by spending his magic power. As for things like gold jewelry, there are more and more available. Even among the king's treasures, these are already considered the least valuable things. Now that you've accepted it, you have to hang it up. This is a gift given as a companion. Don't lose it then. I am so happy to see the little bird flying among the 6 flowers. Yuan just smiled and stretched out his palm to stroke the girl's head. With this pendant on your body, at least ordinary spell spirits cannot harm the opponent. Even special spell spirits will take time to deal with. And once activated, Yuan can sense it immediately. After Kotori Yurika tried hard to free her hands, she put her hands on her hips and raised her head. Well, my companion, I also have a gift to give you, she said with a serious look on her face. Yuan also had some curiosity in his heart. What gift? He asked doubtfully. As far as he knew, Rika's family could only be considered well off, and she didn't have much pocket money. Where could she get a gift for herself? Anyway, close your eyes first. Xiaodiao Yuliwa's cheeks turned red. Look at her like this. Yuan couldn't keep teasing him any longer, so he pretended to close his eyes. The petite girl with fair skin took a deep breath and took off the blindfold on her right eye after seeing Yuan close her eyes. The golden eyes stared at the young man, and he tried to muster the courage to put his head up. Soon. Following a gentle touch on the cheek, I heard the voice of the little bird Yuliahua, the contract is completed, you can open your eyes. Yuan opened his eyes. He showed a half-smiling expression and stared at the girl in front of him playfully. Is this the end? I thought it would be a more generous gift. Just now we were just signing a contract. Now you are my best friend, and we need to face the evil in the world together. Xiaodiao Yuliwa's cheeks were slightly red. She actually has a good impression of Yuan in her heart. After all, not only did he help her buy a doll, but he was also willing to be her partner in the class. After all, she was regarded as a weirdo in the class. And now, the other party gave her such a precious gift. Even if this may not mean anything to Yuan. But she felt that she should also express her position and not just pretend it didn't happen. Okay, then let us establish a new world order. Yuan smiled and agreed casually. He naturally also likes cute and well-behaved girls like Xiaoniao Yu. Although he is a bit of a loser, this does not prevent him from making good friends with each other. It's getting late, remember to go back early. Otherwise, the person in your family may have to give you a slap in the face. Yuan reminded. Let Kotori Yurika think back to her sister at home. I shuddered subconsciously. Humph. It's just a holy adjuster in the Invisible Boundary Line Management Bureau. I will go back immediately and knock him down. Xionio Yuliahuaswai clenched his fists hard. But he tidied things up honestly. Then bid farewell to Yuan. Okay, then I will wait for your good news tomorrow, and I hope you will defeat it. Yuan waved goodbye and said a few words of encouragement. But considering that Kotori Yurika has a hard mouth all over her body, she might get a knock on her head tomorrow. After the encounter ended, Yuan glanced at the direction where the real person left. I took a taxi to my own driver and left the movie theater. Somewhere in the world, warm sunshine falls on the endless stretch of beach, and white clouds float in the sky. The waves gently lap on the beach, making a soothing sound. The real person carrying a plastic bag opened the door of the space, stepped on the beach with a smile, and looked at the person lying on the beach chair. Xiaoyu, how is the progress of the plan? The real person said with a smile. And Xiaoyuja, who was lying on the chair, wearing 5 cassocks and combing his hair into a bun, raised his head lazily. Well, everything is still progressing smoothly. But I am currently short of some funds. I plan to go to Pangxing to teach next time. I should be able to get what I need. Xiaoyuja smiled lazily. But Luo, who next to him, snorted disdainfully. When dealing with those humans, we will definitely have something to do. Why not just grab the money? He has no good feelings towards humans at all. In his opinion, this world should belong to powerful existences like curse spirits. The only value of weak human beings is to give the negative emotional energy provided by the curse spirits. This is where their value lies. Xiaoyuja shook his head slightly when he heard this. If we grab it directly, we can achieve our goal, but after all, there are some spellcasters in the Pangxing sect. If we lure that guy over. But it's not in line with the planned development. He said with an undiminished smile. He took out a document from his arms and handed it to the real person next to him. But recently I collected a list of rich people. If used well, these people can be used by us. Master, you can take it over and have a look. Hear this. The real person took the list with interest. After glancing at the information above, he flipped through the files. Soon, he stopped what he was doing and stared at the photo above. Hey? What's wrong, Genren? Xiaoyujin noticed something was wrong and asked casually. It's nothing, I just happened to see a guy who was in the cinema just now. I didn't expect that he looks so young and has a net worth of several $100 million. What a great guy! The real person said with a smile. He took off the photo above and handed it to Xiaoyujin next to him. Since we are so destined, let's start with him first. As long as we start with the people around him, we can make him our chess piece. Xiaoyujin just glanced at it. He lost interest when he saw it was a handsome young man he didn't recognize. Well, I'll leave it to you then. He arranged calmly. Genren is a special level curse spirit. Even if he faces a first level curse master, he still has a chance to kill him. Isn't it easy to control a mere teenager? Chapter 6. Saturday morning. The morning sun shines in through the glass windows. It illuminates the whole room brightly. Bai Yongqi wears fitted JK clothing, jet black flat shoes, and his pure white feet. Her long silver white hair draped softly behind her back. Considering that it was her first day as a tutor, she prepared a variety of review materials very carefully. This is the first time for her to face such a challenge. When she took a taxi and arrived at the address, she was stunned. A tall and magnificent villa leaps into view. Two beautifully carved colorful stone lions crawling on both sides of the door. It's worth a fortune just by looking at it. She subconsciously looked up, stared at the door and swallowed. Although Bai Yingwei also knew that Yuan was rich in the past. But only after witnessing it with one's own eyes can one understand what the gap is between truly wealthy people and one's own. And just as she approached, planning to contact Yuan for notification. But he saw the door open at this moment. Come in. A familiar boy's laughter came from the announcer on the side of the door. Just go straight ahead. I'll wait for you in the lobby. Bai Yingwei breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. Then he took a step forward, holding the bag in his hand and walked straight forward, and soon he came to the bottom of the tall villa. As she opened the door, what caught his eye were two gorgeous carved stone pillars displayed at the entrance, famous calligraphy and paintings on the wall, and several unrecognizable decorative weapons. Yuan was sitting in front of the black marble table in the center of the hall, flipping through an ancient book in his hand. Come so early. Yuan closed the book in his hand and chuckled. That's for sure. After all, Yuan, your grades really need some coaching. Bai Yingwei stepped forward and put his bag on the table. Then she took a curious look at the book in Yuan's hand. What are you looking at? I'm more interested in occult books. Yuan said calmly. His current knowledge of mysticism still needs to be supplemented. Although under the influence of the omniscient and omnipotent star, he can learn the use of mysterious knowledge at an alarming speed, he still has to be prepared. Hey, I didn't see that you, Yuan, were interested in these things. No wonder I have a common language with Rika-san, but there are no ghosts in this world. After all, we have entered modern society. Shirogane tilted his head and said seriously. You still have to study hard to gain a foothold in society. She thinks Yuan is not good at studying. It's because too much time is wasted on these nonsense things. Even in modern society, people's hearts will not change at all. Likewise, ghosts, as the objects of human fear, still exist. Yuan shook his head. And even if you study hard, you may not be rewarded in society. It would be better to say that I can still gain a foothold even if I don't study. Yuan spread his hands and looked calm. Hearing this, Bai Yingwei suddenly had black lines on his head, thinking that this guy was obviously showing off his wealth. Hateful. Is having money a big deal? But she didn't say much. After all, learning may not necessarily pay off. On the contrary, she once participated in her father's live broadcast room by chance. As a result, I got a lot of money every time without saying anything. Only through the internet. I realized that everyone in the world has a different definition of money. Forget it, you are the employer anyway, and I am the tutor. Bai Yingwei no longer hesitated. She took out the textbook she had just been handed out from her school bag with cute stickers on it, and stared at Yuan seriously. Anyway, since you said you wanted to take tutoring, then prepare to study. I specifically asked for your transcript from last semester yesterday from the class teacher. According to the distribution, you need to improve in mathematics and physics. At the very least, you have to understand the basic questions. While Bai Yingwei spoke seriously, his eyes looked at the boy's handsome face. I have to say, it's really eye-catching. He is handsome and rich. He looks like someone who came out of a romance novel. He doesn't know who he will give it to. When he thought of this, Bai Yingwei felt inexplicably unhappy. There's no need to take it so seriously, right? Yuan was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that Shiro Gainkei would be so serious and even asked Shizuka Hiratsuka for information about his academic performance. No. Even if you want to be a dandy in the future, you must be an educated dandy. Bai Yingwei looked serious. Since the other party has invited her to be a tutor, she naturally has to go to Yuwu. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a waste of money from Yuan. For Bai Yingwei, who has a high self-esteem, it is obviously unacceptable. Hearing this, Yuan nodded, okay. Since Bai Yingwei refuses to give up, then he should follow the other party and learn hard. But I have to say something first, if you can't do math, you can't do it. Yuan said seriously. He also took out a barely read textbook from his school bag. He has no interest in attending classes on weekdays. Anyway, as long as he graduates, he can solve these problems by cheating a little or using his money skills. Instead of spending energy on this, it is better to learn more about mysticism. Bai Yingwei looked at the textbook with nothing written on it, and the girl's eyes twitched slightly. Although she had known for a long time that Yuan was acting badly. But it is relatively rare for her to be in such a bad state. But in this case, she can be of greater help. Thinking of this, the corners of the silver-haired girl's mouth raised slightly. Anyway, let's start with the first step. Bai Yingwei sat beside Yuan and began to guide the study seriously. Chapter 7. Well, the first review is almost over here. We'll talk about the rest after dinner. Bai Yingwei stretched his waist and was slightly lifted up along the JK clothing, revealing his fair, soft, and beautiful belly. His figure was exposed, and it seemed that he felt quite good. After noticing Yuan's gaze, her cheeks turned red immediately, and she coughed lightly. Ahem, by the way, are you here alone? Why don't you see your uncle and aunt? She was already prepared to meet the other person's parents. As a result, Yuan was the only one from beginning to end. Well, I'm the only one at home. Yuan smiled, withdrew his gaze and closed the book. Hey, you are the only one living in such a big house. Aren't you careful about being watched? If there is a thief or something, it will be troublesome. Bai Yingwei asked curiously. No matter how she looked at it, Yuan didn't seem like the kind of person who could fight. There is so much wealth in the house, if it is targeted by robbers. Isn't it finished? This is a luxury villa area, and its security is not that strong. Yuan said with a helpless smile. Well, even so, you have to be careful. Speaking of which, what's for lunch? Bai Yingwei did not deny Yuan's statement. He just sat on the chair and curiously observed the layout of the entire living room. This was the largest house she had ever seen. A living room is larger than all the rooms in her house combined. I have already customized lunch and it will be delivered to your door soon. Usually I am too lazy to cook when I am at home alone. Yuan said calmly. Bai Yingwei nodded and expressed understanding. After all, it would be too troublesome for a person to have to cook and cook for meals. Even when she is alone, she prefers to eat cup noodles. Simple, affordable, and affordable. And soon. That is to say, specialized service personnel will arrive. They set out a set of delicacies served on metal plates and porcelain trays. Grilled lamb chops, bibimbap, fried shrimp in butter, pasta, crayfish, etc. The aroma of these dishes makes people drool irresistibly. Even Bai Yingwei's eyes lit up. She never expected that just lunch would be so rich. This is the life of a rich young master, so enviable. Let's eat first. Yuan put the books away and started eating. Bai Yingwei nodded in agreement. Only after eating and drinking enough would he have the strength to study. An hour later. After the two of them had eaten and drank enough, Yuan narrowed his eyes with satisfaction. The service staff began to put away the dinner plates. Wait until the cleaning is completed. Bai Yingwei looked at Yuan seriously and asked. Yuan, your learning ability is obviously not bad. Why didn't you pay attention in class? You didn't even turn over the book. After a morning of study, Bai Yingwei discovered that Yuan's learning speed was simply monster. As long as it is something taught by yourself, you can basically understand it completely quickly. If you study this talent seriously, even without relying on external forces, Can you get admitted to Shuqin Academy based on your own ability? For me, these are not of much help. But, Bai Yingwei, what do you plan to do after graduation? Ye Yuan shook his head. He had just finished speaking. I saw Bai Yingwei groaning. Her pretty face showed hesitation and confusion. I want to engage in online live broadcasting in the future. I think I am quite talented in this area. It's just that the income is not stable. If it doesn't work out, I'll probably work in this major. Bai Yingwei knew that he had no background. Even if you rely on academic performance, it is estimated that you can achieve the position of manager, and the amount of energy required is astronomical. That being the case, it's better to engage in a career that you like more. In terms of live broadcasting, the pressure of competition is a bit high now. Ye Yuan groaned. From the current point of view, although the live broadcast industry can make money, the ones who can make money are usually the leaders, and the rest can only make hard money at most. This principle is actually the same as writing novels. If you want to enter the live broadcast industry, it will be difficult to use your advantages if you just start as a novice. Bai Yingwei was intelligent by nature, so he naturally understood what the other party meant, and asked hesitantly, is there really nothing I can do about it? My income requirements are actually not very high. She just wanted to rent a triple room with her own single room. Ye Yuan narrowed his eyes and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Since starting from scratch doesn't work, you can find a way to attract a lot of traffic from the beginning. As long as your live broadcast skills are not too bad, it shouldn't be difficult to get recommendations. Bai Yingwei said thoughtfully, Ye Yuan, you mean, let me enjoy the heat. What does it mean to be popular? It means to be in the spotlight. Although I believe it is no problem to attract people with your charm, publicity is also necessary. If it doesn't work out, I can make an investment when the time comes. Ye Yuan talks with great eloquence. He still knows something about the live broadcast industry in this world, because it exists after the merger of the comic world. Therefore, the number of beautiful girls live streaming is also quite large. The degree of involution is simply insane. Compared with what is described in the original work, Bai Yingwei wants to get involved in the career of being an internet celebrity. It is definitely much more difficult. I see. It seems that I didn't know too much before. Thank you Ye Yuan for your advice. Bai Yingwei nodded seriously. Now that she heard what the other party said, she realized how naive her original idea was, and that it was not easy to get involved in the live broadcast industry. Ye Yuan looked at Bai Yingwei carefully. After he saw a bit of blackness between the other person's eyebrows, he narrowed his eyes slightly. It's just a small thing. By the way, you worked hard on the teaching and tutoring today. This is a meeting gift. He took out a white jade pendant from his pocket and handed it to the girl. Although it's just a worthless ordinary white jade, it's quite beautiful. P.S. Please give me flowers. Please review. 1000 flowers plus 1 update. 100 reviews plus 1 more update. A monthly ticket adds 1 more update. Chapter 8. Hey, this is it. Bai Yingwei looked at it curiously. This round white jade pendant has a very elegant feel, the jade quality is shiny and the white color is pure. The pendant is studded with several delicate beads, connecting the jade pendant to the chain. The chain is silver-plated on the outside, and no flaws can be seen. Although it is just an ordinary piece of white jade. But in Bai Yingwei's view, it is also valuable. Just when she was about to refuse, she heard Ye Yuan say, this is a meeting gift from me to my friend. It would be bad if Mr. K refuses. Ye Yuan looked at it with a smile. Bai Yingwei hesitated for a while, and finally stretched out his hand to take Bai Yu, and hung it on his wrist seriously, okay. I'll give you a return gift next time. Since it was a gift from a friend, she couldn't refuse it. All she could do. I just want to find a way to give something back to Ye Yuan next time, so I can't take advantage of others in vain. Ye Yuan's smile did not diminish when he saw this. The reason why he chose to give Bai Yingwei this piece of white jade. Mainly because he noticed the black aura on the opponent's body, and even the weird aura that even a conjurer could hardly detect was invisible to his eyes. This piece of white jade is similar to the gold jewelry. They are all made by Ye Yuan spending his magic power on weekdays. There are about 500 units of magic power stored inside for triggering, which is enough to deal with ordinary magic spirits on a daily basis. It is just a piece of cake for Ye Yuan. And this little thing. But it can ensure Bai Yingwei's safety and increase the other person's favor. Okay, let's continue studying. All the remaining courses will be over in about an afternoon. Yuan stretched and smiled lazily. After hearing his words, Bai Yingwei puffed his face slightly. He had to study a whole week's course, but this guy could master it in just one day, or even half a day. It doesn't matter if you have money, the important thing is that rich people are smart. Then I'll wait and see. Bai Yingwei took out the book seriously and officially started the second round of the afternoon battle with Yuan. The sun sets. The afterglow filled the entire road. After Bai Yingwei packed his school bag, he waved goodbye to Yuan at the gate of the villa with a smile on his face. Yuan also waved his hand and watched the departing figure. Although they only got along for a short day, Bai Yingwei's cuteness and seriousness left a deep impression on him. And his performance should not be bad either. Although it didn't completely increase my goodwill, it was enough for now. But judging from the current situation, those special level curse spirits may be planning to do something in the neon capital here. Well, if we are confident enough next time. Just kill those guys. My physical body is still too weak at the moment, although the king's treasure is very versatile. But if we fight rashly, the possibility of overturning is not impossible. Yuan groaned. He has now racked up a week's worth of check-ins. If it is in this state, there is a lot of possibility of drawing good things. However, he decided to save more. After all, the longer you save, the greater the probability of getting good things. Hum. Bai Yingwei hummed a song and walked in the alley of the street. She planned to take the bus back so that she could have some taxi fare left over. For a thrifty girl, this is the best choice. Yuan is a pretty nice person. Although his family is rich, he doesn't look domineering at all. Bai Yingwei thought to himself. To be honest, when the other party just transferred here last semester, she was quite worried that she would be a problem student. But now it seems that apart from liking those mysterious books, it is just like what Jian Qianjun said in the book. Especially thinking of the meaning of white jade made her pretty face blush slightly. Ah! She suddenly sneezed subconsciously and couldn't help but frown and looked around. It was obviously a deserted alley. But it brought an unstoppable feeling of coldness. It's strange. It's obviously the beginning of September, how can it be so cold? Bai Yingwei murmured. It's a sunny day today, and the temperature is not normal no matter how you look at it. She shuddered subconsciously and couldn't help but quicken her pace, wanting to leave the alley as soon as possible. But the next second... Bang! There was a sudden loud noise from the front. Bai Yingwei raised his head when he heard the sound, his pupils shrank sharply, his legs trembled and he subconsciously stepped back. What is this? Bai Yingwei screamed. Caught in her eyes. It is a twisted humanoid monster that seems to be composed of translucent black smoke and twisted human body structure, amorphous yet humanoid. There are no eyes on its face. But a pair of crystal clear, sharp teeth were revealed in his mouth, and the palm of his hand shattered the bricks on the alley wall with just one blow. Bai Yingwei swallowed, his hands and feet were extremely cold, and his mind was blank. Even she never believed in ghosts. At this moment, I am also extremely convinced that the existence in front of me is definitely not a creature. But the humanoid monster seemed to be heading towards her. It obviously had no eyes, but it relied on its mouth to reveal a terrifying and weird smile. Boom! Its feet collided and made a sound, and it rushed straight towards the girl at an astonishing speed. No, don't! Bai Yingwei shouted subconsciously, covering his head. As an ordinary student, her instinctive reaction is to escape. However, the expected attack did not fall on her. When she opened her eyes tremblingly, what came into her eyes was the brilliance blooming from the white jade on her wrist. What an incomparable radiance of holiness! It pierced through the monster's body like a spear, making it stand stiffly less than 1 meter away, unable to move at all. Hiss! Like gas evaporating, the light instantly engulfed the monster. Until the monster completely dissipates. The white jade gradually faded away and returned to its original ordinary appearance. Plop! Bai Yingwei sat down on the ground, sweat dripping from his fair forehead, his pretty face full of fear and confusion. Hey, ha! She gasped for air while calming down. Focusing on the white jade on his wrist, confusion emerged in his mind. What was the monster just now? And this piece of white jade? How did classmate Yuan do it? Chapter 9. Honestly, Bai Yingwei has never believed in the existence of ghosts and gods in the past. But today, after seeing the monster, she realized that there might be many things hidden under this city that she still didn't know. Hey. She took out a tissue and wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, breathing heavily to try to calm down. Bai Yinghui looked at the piece of white jade again. It was discovered that at some point, a very small part of the white jade was infected by pitch-black smoke. If this was because the monster had just been eliminated. No doubt. This white jade is definitely a very precious exorcism item. It seems. I have to go to Yuan's house again tomorrow. At the very least, we need to find out the origin of the white jade. If it was just by chance that classmate Yuan got it, then we need to explain it clearly. Bai Yinghui murmured. This piece of white jade saved her life, but in the end it was also a gift from Yuan. Maybe the other party didn't know that this was a precious exorcism tool. If that was the case, she would have to return it. Make up your mind. Bai Yinghui stood up from the ground again, patted the dust on his skirt. After carefully observing the surroundings, he quickly left the alley and took a taxi home immediately. And not long after her figure left the alley. A young man wearing black clothes with a grid pattern on his upper body and black trousers on his lower body stood at the place where the black shadow disappeared. Interesting, my curse spirit has been eliminated. The real person narrowed his eyes. Although he only sent out second-level curse spirits this time, it would still be easy to deal with ordinary people. But it was eliminated so quickly. Let the real person be a little surprised. Could it be that I met a passing first-level conjurer? If that's the case, that little girl is pretty lucky. If you are a first-level conjurer, it can still be easily killed against level 2 curse spirits. The real person was immediately interested. He had never fought against a first-level conjurer before. Could this be an opportunity? But he quickly remembered something. But I remember the last time I was in the cinema. Beside that boy, there seems to be another girl. She seems to be very close to her. Hehe, if I kill her. I wonder what kind of expression that boy will show. The real person licked his lips, his eyes full of amusement. He is a curse born from mankind's hatred and fear of mankind. Therefore, he quite likes playing tricks on human beings, especially when others witness their relatives and friends being turned into modified persons. That look of despair, the negative feelings that came out of it. That's what he wants. Although he promised Xiaoyu to hibernate in secret, it was rare for him to do something so fun. If he missed it, he would not be a curse spirit. If you can meet a first-level conjurer, just kill it. The second floor of Yuan's villa. He was looking indifferently through the window into the distance. Under the influence of the omniscient and omnipotent star, everywhere he looked revealed corresponding mysterious information. The white jade in Bai Yinghui was triggered. Yuan groaned. Is it accidental or intentional? But considering the real person and those special level curse spirits, it's best to be prepared first. He made a mental calculation and relied on the precious phantom in the king's treasure. It is not difficult to repel those special curse spirits, but if you want to kill them, you still lack the means to win with one blow. It would be nice if I had the Gailai sword in my hand. Yuan narrowed his eyes. Although the king's treasure he held contained treasures such as the Lock of Heaven, the Sword of Oblivion was not included, but this was what he expected. After all, as far as he knew, even Jin Shining stored the Gailai sword separately. Well, I've been saving it for almost a week. Anyway, let's take a look first. Maybe you can get something good. Yuan thought for a while and took a look at the number of sign-in days accumulated so far. Number of accumulated sign-in days, 6 days, yes/no sign-in, 6 days. It doesn't take too long, but there is still a chance of getting good things. For example, his omniscient and almighty star was successfully drawn after only 3 days of accumulation. Yuan thought about it and made up his mind. Just try your luck. If you can increase the current upper limit of magic power by a large amount, it would be a good choice. Although adjusting the magic circuit in my body can increase the speed of magic recovery. But the total amount of magic power is fixed. If you want to fully utilize the king's treasure, you can only take the recovery elixir inside. He took a deep breath. There are many elixirs in the king's treasure that can restore magic power, but unilateral enhancements are quite rare. This was also within his estimation. If this were not the case, Yang Shen or Xian Wang Shen should not have insufficient magic power. Yuan stared at the light screen in front of him, silently thinking about signing in. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in. The current number of check-in days has been cleared. Get reward, Scabbard Avalon. Introduction, the scabbard of the Sword of Promise of Victory, named after the fairy country ability. After holding it, it becomes immortal and has the ability to heal the holder's injuries and stop aging. Liberation by true name will break down into small parts and spread out in the air, protecting the holder from all interference. Absolute protection that ignores all types of attacks and can even bounce attacks. Note, liberating the distant utopia with your true name requires continuous consumption of magic power. Hiss. This is it. Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw this, and he clenched his fists subconsciously, feeling a rare uncontrollable joy in his heart. Even within Xingyu's worldview, this scabbard is also known as the strongest defense. No one can harm the king who is at ease in the land of Avalon. Yuan took a deep breath and chanted silently in his heart. The scabbard appeared in his hand out of thin air. It was made of golden metal and decorated with eye-catching blue enamel, with long-lost elf writing in the middle. Yuan stroked the scabbard, his eyes full of smiles. Well, it can be integrated directly into my body. In this way, let alone facing the special level curse spirit, even if I face Gojo Satoru and Ryokan Sunyo, I can still be invincible before the magic power is completely exhausted. His fingers touched the scabbard. As the magic scabbard slowly integrated into his body, surging life force poured into his limbs, making his eyes sparkle. That's the only thing missing. It's an explosion of firepower caused by a small amount of magic power output. Fantasy Meltdown is a good choice. But there are other plans at the moment. Let's continue to save the number of sign-in days. P.S. Thanks for the 2 monthly votes, there will be 6 updates today, please give me flowers and comments. The next 3 monthly passes will add an additional chapter. Chapter 10. Sunday. Early the next morning, Bai Yingwei took a school bag and quickly took a taxi to the door of the villa. She had a nightmare when she returned home last night, dreaming of those strange things attacking her. When she woke up, she became even more panicked. Good morning, Kei-san. Yuan sat in the lobby on the first floor and said with a smile. It was as if Bai Yingwei's visit had been anticipated. After all, Bai Yu had been triggered yesterday. Obviously Bai Yingwei had personally faced the attack of the curse spirit, so it was normal for him to come to him. Well, good morning, Mr. Yuan. Bai Yingwei said seriously. She was wearing a simple white dress today, with her long silver white hair draped behind her. She wore just the right amount of white knee-high socks, which were wrapped in white sneakers. It looks quite cute and moving. After saying hello, Bai Yingwei took out the white jade with some embarrassment. Just when she wanted to say something, she was directly interrupted by Yuan. Kuei-san, no need to explain. You must have been attacked by a cursed spirit yesterday. The black spots above this piece of white jade can prove it. Yuan said with a chuckle. But when his eyes were on the white jade, he could clearly identify the source of the curse. The second-level curse spirit is a creature that transforms people. So according to this sequence, it must be the real guy who did it. Recalling his meeting with the other party last week, Yuan narrowed his eyes, and a hint of indifference flashed in his eyes. Those who target him must pay a price. It doesn't matter if it's a super-grade magic spirit, as long as it leaves the magic power behind, it can be tracked. Curse spirit, is that the monster's name? Hearing this, Bai Yingwei couldn't restrain his curiosity, and couldn't help asking. Yuan smiled when he heard this. Squad leader, do you want to know this information? As an ordinary person, it is best not to get involved. Some things, the more you know, the harder it is to sleep peacefully. Seeing Yuan say this, Bai Yingwei was slightly silent, put his school bag on the table, sat in front of Yuan and looked at him seriously. I want to know. What is the truth behind this world? Bai Yingwei took a deep breath. For her, what happened yesterday was the first time since childhood. But if she doesn't figure out the origin of that monster, I'm afraid she won't be able to sleep peacefully every day. To put it simply, curse spirits are geometric bodies of curse power generated by human beings' negative emotions. They have certain intelligence, but most low-level curse spirits are not lethal. But once time passes, when the curse spirit gradually grows up, it will attack humans. Human beings generally cannot see the curse spirit. Only the curse master can do it. Yuan explained calmly. In addition to information about curse spirits, he also gave a series of explanations about spellcasters and the existence of curses in people. It's actually like this. What level is the cursed spirit I met yesterday? Bai Yingwei swallowed and asked cautiously. Second level curse spirit. And it hasn't been long since it was born. Yuan replied calmly. His words shocked Bai Yingwei. She already felt that the monster from yesterday was scary enough. But it turned out to be only a second-level curse spirit. How terrible would it be if it were a first-level curse spirit and a special-level curse spirit? Mr. Yuan, are you a magician? Bai Yingwei asked curiously. Being able to easily take out the white jade that can destroy the second-level curse spirit, and also knowing the truth of so many worlds, then the other party must be one of the curse masters, right? I'm not a magician, you can understand that I'm a magician. The white jade I gave you before was made by me. Yuan said with a chuckle. He has no intention of hiding his identity. Anyway, his self-protection ability is now fully stretched. Even if he encounters danger, he has the versatility of Avalon and King's treasure. Nothing to fear at all. Magician. Bai Yingwei was stunned. But she thought about it and didn't ask any more questions. After all, she already knew enough. And I got such a precious white jade. If I continue to ask more questions, it would be bad if I offend classmate Yuan. Yuan suddenly smiled. But I suggest you not to stay at home anymore. That second-level curse spirit is just a pawn, and most likely it was created by a special-level curse spirit behind it. If his target is you. He didn't mean to scare the other person, but the real person's temperament was really uncertain. If it's for Bai Yingwei, then it's normal for family members to buy it. Yuan just said this. Bai Yingwei's face was already extremely pale. Special magic spirit. According to the introduction just now, those are the most terrifying curse spirits. Even among the spellcasters, there are only a handful of first-level spellcasters and special-level spellcasters who can deal with such a terrifying curse spirit. I see. Cold sweat dripped down Bai Yingwei's forehead, and he clenched his fists nervously. Although it was just a possibility, she was unwilling to bring danger to her family. Mr. Yuan, can I stay here? Bai Yingwei blinked and asked softly. She knew nothing about the magic world, but with her connections, it was impossible to find a magician to help her. The only life-saving straw right now is the young man in front of him. But the special curse spirit is so scary, she is not sure whether it will cause trouble to Yuan. Yuan pretended to groan. Bai Yingwei grasped the hem of her skirt with nervous little hands. His eyes were filled with prayers. Okay, if it comes to your door, I will take action. Monitor, please stay here during this period, and I'll ask the school to issue you a residence permit. Let's just say you are training for an event. Yuan smiled and agreed. Bai Yingwei breathed a sigh of relief and nodded happily, his jewel-like blue eyes full of smiles. Thank you, I can help Mr. Yuan with the housework and so on. Don't refuse where necessary. Chapter 11. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in. Get a reward, the magic power limit is increased by 100. Yuan did his daily check-in and raised the upper limit of his magic power. Just take Bai Yingwei to continue studying. But this time, it's not about learning the knowledge from books. Instead, learn the occult knowledge about spells and magic. If you want to become a conjurer, you must have the brain to cope with spells and a conjurer. This talent requirement is really too much. Bai Yingwei muttered. She originally wanted to become a magician. But judging from the current conditions, he does not meet the requirements for magic or other conditions, and the power of the magician is destined from birth. The difference between those with magic skills and those without magic skills is just like the difference between the rich second generation and ordinary civilians. Yuan smiled when he heard this. It is precisely because of this that the number of conjurers is so small. Instead of trying to become a conjurer, it would be more convenient to try to become a magician, although there are some hard conditions. Hearing this, Bai Yingwei put down the book in his hand and lay on the table with his face in his hands. Well, it's difficult to become a magician. First of all, you must have a magic circuit, and if you want to become stronger, you must further obtain the magic mark. Bai Yingwei sighed lightly. She quite wants to become stronger. But as expected, the path to becoming extraordinary is not that easy. Well, I have a way to give you the engraving and magic circuit, but you won't be able to afford it even if you work all your life. Yuan thought for a while and chuckled. You must know that in the king's treasure house, in addition to various treasures, there are also different types of elixirs. The original magic mark was created by burying fragments of the no longer existing fantasy species or magic ritual into the body. It was easy for Yuan to do this. The rest is just a matter of matching the elixir. There is no problem in creating a second-rate magician. But the upper limit can only be this level. Even if it relies on precious elixirs and precious magic rituals, it is still very good compared with ordinary people. Hey, Lord Yuan is so awesome. Seeing Yuan say this, Bai Yinghui's heart also surged with curiosity. She recalled that when the other party agreed to stay with her temporarily, he looked confident even when facing a super-level curse spirit. But then again, this world is really scary. Although it looks peaceful on the surface. But behind the scenes, various accidents caused by the curse have never stopped, and now many strange news reports have been explained. Perhaps, in times like this, being with Mr. Yuan is the safest option. When he thought of this, Bai Yinghui couldn't help but look at Yuan. The cute girl with long silver hair quietly looked at the boy's handsome face, pursed her lips, and buried her hot cheeks between her arms. Night. Yuan sat on the edge of the bed in his bedroom and stretched. Hey, there are a lot of books in King's Treasure. I guess it will take a long time to read them all. Although he spent the whole day with Bai Yinghui. But he didn't do anything extraordinary. After all, even if Bai Yinghui looks good, he has no intention of taking the initiative to get along with him other than as a classmate and friend. Moreover, even if he didn't say it, the good relationship between him and Bai Yinghui was already high enough, and it was true that he saved the other person's life. The special curse spirit. The real person. Yuan focused on the first person who had come into contact with the special spell spirit. As far as he knew, the other party's characteristic was that it grew very fast, and even Black Flash could learn it in the later stages. This growth speed should not be underestimated. But the shortcomings are also obvious. All he needs to do is get rid of the soul of the real person. The strength of his own body is not worth mentioning in front of the King's Treasure's Noble Phantasm. Yuan thought for a while. I plan to make some more magic props while I still have time in the evening. However, just at this moment, there was a knock on the door. Dong dong. Yuan stepped forward and opened the door. As he looked forward, he saw a figure holding a small bag in his hand. Her long, blow-dried silver-white hair hangs down on her shoulders as lightly as fine snow, and her perfect figure exudes a youthful charm. The white neck is like pure jade, which does not hide the girl's dignified temperament. Bai Yinghui was wearing cute pink pajamas, holding a pillow with one hand and a small bag in his hand, looking at Yuan and asked timidly. Well, I have a bit of a nightmare and can't sleep. Can I sleep with you, Mr. Yuan? Seeing Bai Yinghui's appearance, Yuan was stunned for a moment, then hesitated and chuckled. It's not impossible, but doesn't it matter? Well, I feel safer with Yuan. Bai Yinghui nodded heavily and took a deep breath. Seeing Bai Yinghui taking the initiative like this, Yuan naturally couldn't stop her and opened the door to let her enter the room. Then he closed the door. Bai Yinghui walked into the room and looked around, finding the accessories on the table. Mr. Yuan, are you making magic props? Well, it's nothing to be idle anyway. I just take the time to do something in case I need it. If the monitor wants to sleep, just go to bed and rest now. Yuan nodded lightly and sat back at the table. He began to seriously activate his own magic power, turning it into a little fluorescence, and imbued the corresponding jewelry with magic power. Bai Yinghui, on the other hand, was lying on the bed obediently. She lightly covered herself with the quilt and quietly observed Yuan. Looking at the young man's serious and handsome face and tall and slender figure, she couldn't take her eyes away for a while. Unknowingly, her cheeks gradually turned red. Chapter 12. After Yuan finished his work, he put away the magic props. He still has a few hundred magic powers left, which is enough for emergencies. He quickly cleaned up. Glancing at the bed, I found that Bai Yinghui had his eyes closed and pretended to be asleep, but his breathing was slightly trembling and his body was slightly stiff. But it exposed the information that she was still asleep. When Yuan saw this, he didn't intend to expose the other party. He just sat lazily on the bed, pulled back a corner of the quilt and lay down. The fragrance and warmth from the girl's body spread through the quilt beside her. And at this moment, Bai Yinghui's cheeks were even more shy, and heaven and man were at war in his heart. Since Yuan transferred here, we have known each other for almost half a year now. Although the other person doesn't like to study on weekdays, he often helps his classmates, and his character and reputation are first class. Especially after giving her the precious magic props as a gift. Bai Yinghui is not a fool. She naturally knew that the reason why Yuan gave the gift in the first place was because he saw something, but the other party never repaid the favor. He was obviously his savior. Bai Yingwei's heart skipped a beat. She found herself. She seems to have fallen in love with this boy named Yuan. It wasn't until this moment that the slow Bai Yingke suddenly realized it and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. She subconsciously groped with her palms inside the quilt, couldn't help but grab the palm of the boy beside her, and clasped her hands together actively. That! Mr. Yuan! Bai Yingwei said softly, and the warmth from his palms seemed to be able to dispel the fear of nightmares. Well, I'm here. Monitor, aren't you still asleep? Yuan replied softly. Well, don't call me squad leader. Mr. Yuan, just call me by my name. Bai Yingwei turned sideways, blinked his eyes and laughed softly. She stared at the other person's handsome face and whispered softly. Mr. Yuan, can you come closer? She breathed hot air softly from the tip of her nose, and looked at the young man's figure with a hint of love and confusion in her blue eyes. Hearing this, Yuan turned to look at the girl. She looked closely at the girl's rosy cheeks, a smile gradually appeared on her face, and she asked softly with a serious look. What's wrong? Mr. Yuan, do you think I look good? Bai Yingwei's tone was slightly trembling, but the expression in his eyes gradually became firm. Now that you have confirmed your idea, the next thing you need to do is to put it into practice as much as possible. Well, it looks good. Yuan replied without any hesitation. Hear this. Bai Yingwei showed a happy and bright smile like a child who got some candy, and took the initiative to hold the quilt with both hands and sit on the boy. Yeah, then, can you not refuse the next thing? She asked softly, her bright eyes waiting for the answer. Yuan looked at the beautiful eyes reflecting his own. He nodded slightly and smiled. Good. Of course, there is no need to ask more about what happened next. As if the jade willow supports the eyebrows and falls, here the worries are relieved, and the night passes before you know it. Wait until Bai Yingwei wakes up. It was already 3 o'clock in the morning and it was approaching noon. Bai Yingwei squinted his eyes and huddled in the quilt like a cat. He rubbed the boy's residual warmth and scent on the quilt, feeling quite relieved in his heart. She had not been able to sleep well because of nightmares in the middle of the night. And now after being with the boy, the nightmares of the past seemed to be nothing. It's almost noon. The school will probably have to remember you for being absent from class. Bai Yingwei thought it was Monday. She muttered a rare dissatisfaction. Obviously it was just the first time yesterday, but it seemed to be quite comfortable. Don't worry. I've already informed the school. Your class teacher should also have your sick leave. As for your medical records, I've also given them to her. As for me, it's normal not to go to class. Yuan's voice came. He was holding a book about magic engraving in his hands, sitting on a chair in the bedroom, smiling and looking at Bai Yingwei who had just woken up. Hearing this, Bai Yingwei breathed a sigh of relief. Hey, that's good, otherwise I thought I wouldn't get the scholarship. If you are recorded as absent from class, you will be in trouble later. She whispered seriously. Scholarships are a very important part of her education. Only by getting enough scholarships can you have money to buy the things you like. Hear this. Yuan looked at Bai Yingwei with a strange expression. Do you think I don't exist? This little money is nothing. Just your white jade, if I want to sell it, I can easily sell it for hundreds or even tens of millions of dollars. If you want to move, just tell me. Although the money in his hands is currently only a few $100 million. But it's more than enough for your own enjoyment. If you really want money, just auction some magic props and you can get them easily. And to solve Bai Yingwei's current family crisis, he can do it with just a few clicks of his fingers. Well, you still have to rely on yourself to get the scholarship. Bai Yingwei shook his head. She didn't want to rely on the boy all the time, but listening to his words, she couldn't help but feel much happier. Okay, you have a good rest first, and I'll have someone deliver the food. Yuan nodded slightly and sat on the edge of the bed, stroking the girl's silky silver hair with his palms, allowing the other party to take the initiative to come closer. Enjoying the quiet moment, you narrowed your eyes slightly. Have to say, Bai Yingwei's initiative was indeed beyond his expectation. But considering the other party's high self-esteem, there will be no hesitation once confirmed. But next, it's time to deal with real people sometime. Yuan's eyes flashed coldly, and he was thinking about the follow-up plan in his heart. Chapter 13. Wait until Yuan and Bai Yingwei finish their meal. Yuan asked Bai Yingwei to continue to rest, while he himself planned to explore the traces of the real person while he was still free during the day. About half an hour passed. He came to the place where Bai Yingwei was attacked the night before yesterday. Yuan glanced at it, looked at the remaining black energy in his eyes, and raised his eyebrows. Transformed from humans into almost magical monsters. And it was done in a very short time. Only real people can do it. Let's track it based on the remaining breath of the curse spirit. Yuan thought to himself. Whether it's a trap left intentionally or a residual spell left by other reasons. He planned to test it out personally. It just so happened that I wanted to test how much power alcohol could exert on the Noble Phantasm in my current king's treasure. Yuan judged in his heart and quickly followed the remnants of the spell. It didn't take long. He came to a warehouse on the edge of the city. The faint black energy and the leaked breath of the curse caught his eyes, making Yuan narrow his eyes slightly and strode forward. Glancing at the thick iron ropes of the warehouse, built in such an edge place, he is really careful. Yuan flicked his finger, and the door lock was shattered by the sword that appeared out of thin air, falling to the ground with a crisp collision sound. Bang! As Yuan pushed the door open. The warehouse was extremely quiet, with only the faint light of sunlight shining through the narrow windows. An unpleasant rancid smell wafted through the air. Suddenly, there was a strange noise coming from the edge of the warehouse, like the sound of crackling broken glass. As the sound increases, multiple weird-looking cursed spirits that had been transformed into human bodies were gradually revealed. Their whole bodies were covered in disgusting red paint, and their eyes were cut into two blood-red balls. Rushing straight in like a rabid dog. Yuan raised his brows and waved his hand calmly. The space rippled in mid-air, and several long swords penetrated the heart of the cursed spirit accurately. Blood splattered. Even though it has been transformed into an inhuman form. But in front of the omniscient and omnipotent star, both weaknesses and aura are clearly revealed. After solving these cursed spirits that transformed people, Yuan looked at the corner of the warehouse calmly. It's almost been reformed. You should have had enough of watching the show. It is unpleasant to have my sword stained with such foul blood. After the words fell, there was a sound of clapping from the side. The young man with sutures on his face and limbs walked out of the shadows with a smile and looked at the boy in front of him. Oh, I originally planned to attract the conjurer. I didn't expect it to be someone I met in the cinema before. He looks so young and is already a magician. There was a flirtatious smile on the real person's face. His eyes looked at Yuan as if admiring an unfinished work. Unfortunately, you don't look weak. If it's too weak, it won't be effective in exercising. You are already a millionaire with a net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars, but you are still working as a magician behind the scenes. It is really hard. Yuan's appearance was indeed beyond the real person's expectations. But thinking about the previously killed human-modified curse spirit, it was indeed solved by this young man in some way. Originally, I just wanted to threaten the other party a little bit. Get enough funds. But since he is a conjurer, it would be difficult to continue the conversation. Being able to communicate with humans to this extent. You should have grown into a special level curse spirit now. Yuan said casually. He snapped his fingers indifferently, golden light appeared, and dozens of revealed sword blades were pointed straight at the real person's body. I didn't plan to cause trouble for a guy like you. But since you delivered it to your door, let's stay here. His eyes stared calmly at the real person. Relying on the analytical ability brought by the omniscient and omnipotent star, he quickly analyzed the corresponding ability weaknesses and strategies. Weakness: you can use noble phantasms that damage souls or cut off immortality and restore injuries, thus directly causing fatal blows. And among the king's treasures, there are many such treasures. Hey, you know that I am a special curse spirit, but you can still be so calm. You are so young. Are you a first-level conjurer? The real person said with a smile. He is quite lacking in the resources of a magician. I wonder how long a conjurer can successfully survive compared to ordinary people if he undergoes transformation? And such a young first-level conjurer should be considered a genius among humans. But what makes real people wonder is, he actually couldn't see the outline of this young man's soul, as if it was like a cloud of fog that made people feel elusive. Whatever you think. Yuan replied calmly, and the sword shot straight towards the real person at an astonishing speed. The real person directly threw out the transformed person who had been prepared in advance and turned it into an extended defensive barrier, while looking at it with a smile. Hey, it's really a strange spell. It turns out there is such a magician. But since you depend on this, that means the close range ability should be relatively average, and the weaknesses are obvious. And just when he wanted to take action. But those dozens of long swords easily penetrated the physical barrier and shot straight towards the real person's body with extremely sharp edges. This sharpness. The real person's pupils shrank and he immediately waved his fists in defense. Zilla. The agitated smoke spread out. After the smoke and dust subsided, even though a dozen sword blades were knocked away, it was difficult to defend them all in such a short period of time. The real person's body was still penetrated by several long swords. But there was a smile on his face, looking at Yuan in front of him. As long as I maintain the shape of my soul, my body will not die. Speaking of which, the sword just now was really sharp. Even though I used magic power to defend myself, it was still penetrated. He is indeed a first-level conjurer. After hearing what he said, Yuan only raised the corners of his mouth slightly. That's right, then next, it's time to smash you to pieces together with your soul. P.S. There were only 4 chapters yesterday, so sorry. We'll make an update today. Asking for flowers and reviews. Chapter 14. Oh? Then I'm very curious. The real person blinked. How on earth do you have to be able to crush my soul together? For humans, this is not easy to achieve. The real person said with a smile. He pulled out the weapons stuck in his body one by one, leaving clearly visible penetrating wounds on his body, but they were recovered in the blink of an eye. No matter how much damage these weapons can cause. As long as it cannot cause damage to the soul. To him. No matter what kind of attack it is useless. But facing his smile, Yuan just waved his hand again unceremoniously, and dozens of weapons appeared out of thin air at this moment. Like a cannonball being discharged, it rushed straight towards the real person. Its speed is even better than before. Whoosh whoosh. With the sound of breaking through the sky, the real person stepped forward without hesitation, turned his feet into deer hooves, and rushed towards Yuan at an astonishing speed. And controlled by the throne-modified human body. Used to deflect those long sword hits. Haha, the smile on the real person's face became brighter. He had experienced firsthand that the blow that had just been dealt to Yuan would cause serious damage if he was hit again. Even he needs extra mantra power to recover. As the distance between the two quickly narrowed, the real person gradually began to feel at ease in his heart. After all, if it comes to close combat, a mere brat who only needs to be hit 2 or 3 times in front of his spells will no longer be considered a human being. And Yuan looked a little flustered. Damn it! Don't come any closer! He roared suddenly, as if he had exploded with all his strength, causing hundreds of weapons of different types to surround the real person's figure out of thin air. With a command, he waved his palm suddenly. Those weapons are like a rainbow piercing the sun. Rush straight towards the real person. Very good, it shouldn't have been your limit just now. It's amazing. The real person said with a smile, but when those weapons hit his skin, the skin exploded immediately. Like a balloon being popped. Just a disguise. Ha ha ha. The real person's laughter came from below. After shrinking with his ability, he rushed straight towards Yuan. With amazing speed, he has arrived in front of Yuan. The moment his body returned to its original shape, a smile appeared on his face. The palm, which was filled with huge spells, was about to hit the young man's body. It seems that there is nothing remarkable about a first-level conjurer this time. It's my victory. The corners of the real man's mouth rose, and he was filled with joy. Being able to kill a first-level conjurer so easily was beyond expectation. It can only be said that the opponent's ability was completely restrained by him. But suddenly, the young man's indifferent laughter sounded in his ears. True name liberation, distant utopia. Next moment, spots of light suddenly bloomed in Yuan's body. An unknown sword scabbard was broken down into small parts and spread out in the air, blocking his way in a way that a real person could not understand. That's right, I just can't understand it. No matter how close his palm was to Yuan's body, at this moment, he couldn't touch him. What's this? The moment his figure stopped, nameless locks suddenly appeared in midair and completely entangled his body. And in the hands of Yuan. Then a bright red long sword appeared, with an evil aura like an abyss, which made the real person tremble in his heart. The moment his pupils contracted, he saw the smile on Yuan's face. I'm telling you, your soul and body must be completely crushed. And if you want to do this, of course using this weapon is the best way. Yuan said with a smile. The magic sword he holds tightly in his hand is called the Sword of Honey. The Nibelung magic sword held by Honey. Legend has it that this sword carries a huge curse and can bring endless misfortune and disaster to the holder. The sword that killed the hero Siegfried. It has a curse that will absolutely kill the enemy. It has attack characteristics that cannot be avoided, defended, or healed. Logically speaking, the absolute attack power of this magic sword must be exchanged for the user's own fate. But if you are in a distant utopia, you can avoid the side effects of the magic sword. The magic sword that symbolizes honor and destruction. Magic liberation, please show your brilliance here. The magic power surged in Yuan's body. The moment the magic sword Honey was poured into it, scarlet radiance bloomed and exploded, and the moment it was swung out it was like an endless curse slash. Accurately, it hit the real person's body. There is no room for evasion or rejection. In the blink of an eye, it penetrated the real person's body, and the entire warehouse was divided. When it collapsed, the real person also stopped moving. You. The real man stared blankly at the young man in front of him with his eyes widened. He never imagined that everything was a trap. This young man has been acting from the beginning. The 3 previous attacks were just used to numb his heart and allow him to reveal his flaws when attacking. But when it came to a close fight, he was completely trapped. Amir, slash. He still wanted to retort harshly. But the soul was mixed with the body, and no matter how he used his spells, he could not recover from the injuries just now, until despair gradually appeared in his eyes. Yuan glanced at it, turned around and walked away. Behind him, Zilla. The real body turned into countless pieces of meat and scattered on the ground. PS toothache. Just finished, there are still several chapters to be updated. Ask for data. Chapter 15. Sunny Beach Mountain. The trunk of the coconut tree is straight, with lush branches and leaves, and there are several coconut canopies separated by dead branches at the top. On a beach chair under a coconut tree, Liuhu sat unhappily. Really, if you keep waiting for the right time, when can the cursed spirit become a new human being? That BD Xiaoyu suddenly went out without saying a word and took Huayu with him. Am I the only one left now? He ground his teeth in annoyance. Although he can easily cause great damage once he takes action, he feels quite unhappy when he thinks that this guy Xiaoyu goes out without him. Creak. The door in the air was suddenly opened. The figure of Xiaoyu returned to the beach with Huayu behind him. After seeing Xiaoyu's return, Yu said angrily. Hello. What are you doing out there? But this moment, Xiaoyu's face was obviously not so pretty. I went out for a while, because the real person's aura disappeared, and even Huayu couldn't feel it. I'm afraid something happened to me in all likelihood. Xiaoyu said with regret. He is concerned about the disappearance of real people. Quite unhappy. After all, in his opinion, Genren's techniques are of extremely high value. I originally planned to swallow it and put it to good use one day. But he disappeared inexplicably. Hey? The real guy has disappeared? Could he be looking for fun? Or did you meet the Gojo Satoru you mentioned? Lihu narrowed her eyes upon hearing this. No matter how you say it, the real person is a special level curse spirit. How could he be killed silently? No, although no trace of the real person was found, there were residual traces of the battle in a warehouse that suddenly collapsed. It's not like Gojo Satoru's ability, and his aura is quite evil. It's almost like a sleeping stall. Xiaoyu spread his hands, his face full of helplessness. The development of things now was really unexpected, especially since even he had no impression of this aura at all. It was like it came out of nowhere. Suotan, could it be a curse created by fingers? If it is an imaginary curse spirit created by multiple fingers, its strength cannot be underestimated. It would not be surprising if a real person is killed. Luahu said casually. He had seen the power of Suotan's fingers before. Although not as good as myself now. But today's real people can't even use the field, and they haven't grown to a sufficient level yet, so it's normal for them to be killed. Maybe, but I know roughly where the fingers are. Xiaoyu shook his head. He sat comfortably on the chair where the real person usually lay, took out the original document again, and looked at the young man in the photo. Yuan, I can't find anything about his past. It's like a person appeared out of nowhere, and he easily became a millionaire with his treasure. His previous target was him. Xiaoyuji yawned and said calmly. Huayu next to him spoke. In other words, the disappearance of the real person is related to this guy. Do you need me to test it? Huayu's tone was mixed with a little anger. But Xiaoyuji waved his hand. It's not time for you to appear yet, so please wait patiently. As for this young man named Yuan, there is far more than just one way to test him. For example, the girl named Kodori Yurika had a very good relationship with Yuan at the movie theater where she first met him. You can understand it by using some of Pangxing's internal relationships. Xiaoyuji looked at the photo playfully. He didn't plan to show up in person, after all, he didn't know the enemy's strength now. Before the sleeping stall has been resurrected, he must wait patiently for the opportunity. Okay. Huayu saw Xiaoyu and had to give up his plan of action. It was nearly dusk. Yuan returned to the door and stretched. Wu. It took about 700 mana to deal with that guy and the real person. Fortunately, this time it was a one-on-one fight, otherwise the killing would not have been so easy. He whispered to himself. It cost 200 mana to use the king's treasure in a feint attack, and then opened the distant utopia for 1 minute, which cost 100 mana. Afterwards, in order to bring out the power of the magic sword, a full 400 mana was spent. The magic power in his body now is almost 2000. It's pretty easy to deal with real people. But if you are facing Sutton and Gojo Satoru, you may need more magic power than expected to repel them. In the next week, be patient and accumulate your magic power limit. Yuan groaned, making a decision in his heart. Ding dong! The door in front of him suddenly opened. Bai Yingwei stood at the door to greet Yuan, smiling while his cheeks were slightly red. Good afternoon. Mr. Yuan. Well, dinner is ready. I made it specially. Yuan smiled when he saw this, walked up and gave the girl a big hug. I've kept you waiting for a long time. I'm back. Bai Yingwei was suddenly held in his arms, his cheeks were flushed with embarrassment, he slightly raised his head to look at the handsome young man, and rubbed his warm chest. After a moment, she also reached out her hand and hugged the young man in front of her. Well, welcome home. Bai Yongqiu is extremely serious in school on weekdays. At this moment, in the boy's arms, she was like a tamed little beast, craving for the warmth in his arms. But she also vaguely understood in her heart. A magician like Yuan. If you want to form a magic family, you will definitely have more than one partner. But even so, she was the first to capture the boy. You will never give up easily. Chapter 16. Dusk is falling. Yuan and Bai Yingwei had a moment of tenderness in front of the door. Then he returned to the table and enjoyed the dishes he had prepared earlier. Since there were only 2 people, Bai Yingwei didn't cook much, only sweet and sour fish, braised beef and refreshing cold cucumber. These home-cooked stir-fries exude a rich aroma. It whets Yuan's appetite. After serving the meal, he sat at the table, picked up a piece with his chopsticks, took a small bite, and narrowed his eyes slightly. The craftsmanship is pretty good. He praised and smiled. After all, Bai Yingwei is the son of a poor man. He still has some cooking skills, although he is not as good as the Michelin master. He has a unique flavor. Bai Yingwei's cheeks turned slightly red when he heard the compliment, but he was quite happy in his heart. And after the 2 of them had a meal, Yuan put down his chopsticks with satisfaction. Q, do you want to be a magician? He suddenly looked at Bai Yingwei in front of him and asked seriously. Magic circuits are not difficult for him. With the corresponding elixir and adjustment technology, it should be enough for ordinary people to have a certain number of magic circuits. Can I be a magician too? Bai Yingwei couldn't help but ask. She put down her chopsticks, her eyes filled with anticipation and excitement. Magicians. As long as they can come into contact with extraordinary power, Bai Yingwei's heart is filled with curiosity, but she also knows that this shouldn't be easy. Of course, but even after starting, it will take some time. Yuan opened his mouth and replied. The magic circuits on the Einsborn androids were obtained by adjusting technology. And with his omniscient and omnipotent star, it is even easier for him to analyze this level of technology, and even the flaws can be completely avoided. But if this technology is used on ordinary people, it also takes some time. Bai Yingwei agreed without hesitation, no problem, no matter how long it takes, I can wait patiently. When it comes to extraordinary abilities, everyone will have a yearning in their hearts. Bai Yingwei is naturally no exception. Okay. Yuan chuckled. If Shirogane K can grow into a magician, and with the noble phantoms in his king's treasure, he can easily deal with most of the cursed spirits. He doesn't object to making those around him stronger. Seeing Yuan agreed. Bai Yingwei cheered in his heart and hummed a song briskly. After handling the tableware, he came to Yuan. He once again took the initiative to stare at the young man with burning eyes, and took a deep breath with rosy cheeks. He stood on tiptoes again and moved forward actively. Faced with the girl's initiative, Yuan naturally did not refuse. He grasped the opponent's soft waist with his palms, exerting slight pressure until after a moment, he released Bai Yingwei, who was as soft as cotton. Let's change the rest. Yuan said with a smile, his eyes narrowed. The silver-haired girl's cheeks were rosy, she nodded slightly and agreed, letting Yuan's palm pull her into the bedroom. Night. It hurts, it hurts. Bai Yingwei was lying on the bed, his beautiful eyebrows narrowed slightly, his eyes full of helplessness. Now she finally experienced the so-called feeling of physical exhaustion and paralysis. I could only move my body reluctantly and wrap myself in the quilt. He lay in the boy's arms smoothly. The squad leader's sports performance still needs more practice. Yuan chuckled. Bai Yingwei's cheeks turned red when he heard this, and he rolled his eyes at Yuan with a hint of annoyance, and buried his head in his chest angrily. No way, facts speak louder than words. Yuan's physical strength is much stronger than she imagined. He doesn't look like a muscular man, but his energy seems to be endless. Or is her technique too poor? Logically speaking, you should have an advantage in this kind of sports, but facing Yuan, let alone an advantage, he didn't even take the initiative. Is this the magician? Wait until she becomes a magician and then ask for advice. Get a good rest first, and we will start adjusting the magic circuit tomorrow. Although the magic in the air is thin, it can still be used. Yuan narrowed his eyes and smiled gently, but he was thoughtful in his heart. He destroyed the special curse spirit of Genren. Today's fake Xiaoyuja may not necessarily give up. If he used that thing, he would be sure to destroy Sunyo and all the special level curse spirits, but this would also cost him a big trump card. He had no special feelings about spell spirits and spellcasters. Just don't mess with yourself. Moreover, in this world, in addition to spellcasters and spell spirits, there may be other special abilities, you need to be careful. Having said that, today is quite tiring. After all, he did not take potion this time, but relied on his body strengthened by magic power to come back for a big battle after finishing the battle during the day. After Bai Yingwei made a sweet sleeping sound. Yuan then put aside his distracting thoughts and gradually fell asleep with his arms around the waist of the person in front of him. Early the next morning, Yuan just washed up and asked a special car to take him and Bai Yingwei to the gate of Zaihu Zaiwan Academy. There are many luxury cars parked at the entrance. When Yuan got off the bus with Bai Yingwei, he looked around and walked into the school entrance one after another carrying his school bags. And many students passing by, after seeing Yuan and Bai Yingwei. They all stopped and talked. After all, both Yuan and Bai Yingwei are well-known figures in the school. Isn't that classmate Yuan? The school idol of the 2nd grade. It is said that someone bought his close-up photos online for 100,000 yen each. And it's still in the school forum. It must be a girl, right? Hiss. Really fake. The person in front of him seems to be Bai Yingwei, the monitor of Class A of the 2nd year. He is one of the top 10 school beauties listed in the forum. It seems that the two of them have a good relationship. Oh. I'm so envious. Damn, can you do whatever you want just because you're handsome? Well. Yuan is not only handsome, but he also has money. I'm afraid he can really do whatever he wants. Chapter 17. After returning to Class A in the 2nd year, Yuan sat back in his original position. Bai Yingwei sat in front. Ying Lily next to her looked helpless. Why do you have to go to this school for someone like you who often misses school? You are already so rich. This is more than once Yuan has been absent from class. You know, it costs a lot of money to sponsor a school. What Yuan did was simply a waste of money. If his grades were unsatisfactory, he would not be able to get a diploma. Don't worry, my grades will not be bad this semester. You can still learn knowledge even if you don't go to class. Yuan smiled. Besides, if you don't go to school, you won't be able to meet your friends. You are the only ones I have. His soft words. It made Ying Lily's cheeks slightly red. Who is your friend? Don't be too sentimental. I was just out of concern for my classmates. Ying Lily folded her hands in front of her chest and snorted proudly. But I felt faintly happy in my heart. Seeing Ying Lily's arrogant look, Yuan shook his head helplessly. It was because he was so arrogant that he became a lost golden retriever. Okay, then thank you Irie-san for your concern. But I'm still confident about my results. I'll know after this week's exam. Yuan chuckled, his tone full of confidence. When Ying Lily heard this, she became curious. Because she clearly remembered that Yuan's academic performance was very poor last semester, but now he looks confident. Could it be that he hired a tutor behind his back? If there is a famous teacher to give him guidance, improving your performance shouldn't be difficult. Having said that, but Ying Lily still glanced at Yuan pretendingly. Yeah, that's really exciting. Seeing the golden retriever's arrogant look, Yuan didn't care at all. After all, there were so many beautiful girls in the comic book world. Ying Lily is good though. But he didn't bother to do anything more if it was too much trouble. Yo! My best friend! Why didn't you come to class yesterday? It's only the second week and I'm absent from class. The teacher is very angry. Zionio Yuliwa came to Yuan's table at some point, covering her eye mask with one hand, assuming a middle-class posture, and looking at Yuan seriously. Something happened yesterday. Yuan replied with a smile. Speaking of which, Rika, you haven't encountered anything strange recently, have you? He asked. Although the magic props on Rika were not triggered. But the real person was staring at him at the beginning, and he might not have the idea of taking action against Rika, and now he has killed the real person. If followed up, I'm afraid Rika might also be involved, so it's better to ask just to be on the safe side. Something strange must have happened. My dear friend. Yesterday I took the opportunity to discover the weakness of the holy conditioner. There is a locked box that is not allowed to be opened no matter what. There must be her secret inside. Xiaodiao Yuliwa said seriously. Hearing this, Yuan suddenly had black lines on his head. If I guess correctly, that box might contain the dark history of Kodori Utoka. However, since Rika has not encountered the curse spirit, it means that the opponent has not yet taken action, and he can now have enough time to continue developing with peace of mind. Okay, I get it. Let's open that box together when we have time. Yuan smiled and said. He is also very interested in birds swimming among 10 flowers and leaves. After all, she is an iceberg beauty, and her figure is quite impressive. However, acting together with Kodori Yurika can also increase your favorability. Why not do this kind of thing? Ding dong! The school bell rang. Interrupted several people in conversation. Conjuration College. A middle-aged man wearing dark clothing and sunglasses was sitting in the office, frowning while looking at a document in his hand. It was none other than Nokshuwa Masamichi, the principal of the Tokyo Metropolitan College of Magic. Gojo Satoru, come here and take a look. He suddenly spoke. Hey! A white-haired young man over 190 centimeters tall, wearing a black college uniform and a black eye patch, was lying on a chair nearby. After hearing Nokshua's call, he lazily raised his head. What happened? Could it be that those old men are putting pressure on you again? Gojo Satoru asked in a flirtatious tone. Having said that, he stood up from the chair and came to Nokshua's side. It's okay for those old men, although it's not just once or twice. But this time the matter is more critical. Judging from this current report, I'm afraid the situation inside Tokyo is not as peaceful as it is now. Nokshuwa shook his head helplessly. He handed the document in his hand to Gojo Satoru, and at the same time said in a serious tone, at this moment, based on the current reported situation, it can be seen that there are unregistered special-level curse spirits that have been eliminated. Although there are only ruins left, the extremely terrifying evil aura emanating from it is comparable to that of Sunyo. It's very likely that it will be an internal fight between super-level curse spirits. With his words, Gojo Satoru also took a look at the report. After he was silent for a moment, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Interesting, he's a new guy. It seems that while these old men are trying their best to maintain the status quo, the changes in the world have gradually begun. Is there an internal fight between super-level curse spirits? It's really imminent. Chapter 18. Special Grade Magic Spirit. Even among all the cursed spirits, it is definitely the most special existence. And the internal fighting among curse spirits of this level is actually happening within Tokyo, which is really shocking. That is to say, there is still a special curse spirit hidden in the bustling city of Tokyo. Gojo Satoru narrowed his eyes. This is not a good thing for the magic high school in Tokyo. If you don't know the location of the special magic spirit, you will be unable to do many things. Let's continue analyzing and tracking to see if we can find any remaining traces. Gojo Satoru touched his chin and chuckled. His words were full of confidence in his own strength, as if he could defeat any cursed spirit. Don't worry even if you really can't find it. I'll take action. After hearing what Nokshu Gendeo said, he said no more. Anyone else might have doubted whether he was too arrogant, but if it were that monster like Gojo Satoru, it would be completely different. So far, ever since Gojo Satoru understood that move, he has never suffered any defeats. Okay, I'll leave it to you then. After Nokshu Masamichi handed the documents directly to Gojo Satoru, he felt relieved. Then, as if he suddenly remembered something, he looked up at Gojo Satoru and reminded, by the way, Gojo Satoru, you still remember the Pangxing sect, right? Hear this. Gojo Satoru's eyes narrowed slightly. Pangxing cult, he would never forget this familiar name. Both Li Ziyi and Xiaoyuja were involved with the Pangxing sect, and eventually became their enemies. What's wrong? Could it be that those clowns are acting again? Gojo Satoru asked calmly. Facing his words, Nokshu nodded slightly. Based on the current investigation, we found that the Pangxing cult has two branches, one is the well-known gathering of the instruments of time, and the other is the home of the children of the star. The one who hired people to kill the astral body. And the Pangxing cult branch that was taken over by Xiaoyu is the home of the children of the star, and now even though it's because of Xiaoyuja's death, the star child home branch has fallen into loneliness, but the gathering of the weapons of time is taking action, and their purpose is not yet clear. After hearing these words, Gojo Satoru groaned. The instrument of time keeps changing its container over a long period of time. This should refer to Tianyuan, right? Forget it, if those clowns take action, just remember to notify me. Gojo Satoru shook his head. He was too lazy to think about these things about Pangxing cult. Let Fushiguro Megami go and investigate. That's what I gave him for training at that time. Recently, Hisato Koshin is temporarily following Nanami Kento to investigate the whereabouts of that aura. That's the arrangement. Gojo Satoru's voice fell calmly. With him guarding Tokyo himself, even if something unexpected happens, he can respond immediately. After school in the afternoon. In the classroom of the head teacher. Yeah, Yuan, why didn't you come to school yesterday? This needs to be explained carefully. Hiratsuka sat quietly on the chair, staring at the handsome man in front of him with a smile, and asked kindly. This guy is too courageous. On the first day of the second week, he actually had the audacity to skip class and not come to school. Although Bai Yingwei did not come to school that day, it was because of physical problems, and there was a medical record issued by the doctor as evidence. But Ye Yuan actually skipped class directly. This is simply not taking her as the head teacher seriously. Well, because I had more important things to do yesterday. Ye Yuan stood there and responded with a faint smile. Something more important? Hiratsuka Shizuka raised an eyebrow. She clasped her hands on her chest, making her rich figure even more visible. Tell me about it. She took a deep breath. She wanted to see what the other party's reasons were. He didn't even ask for leave, and just chose to miss a day of class. Teacher, I don't know if you believe that there are ghosts in this world, but I believe in them very much, so I made some arrangements. I have made some insignificant contributions to world peace. Ye Yuan shrugged and said with a chuckle. What he said was not wrong. If he hadn't killed the real person, the number of humans this guy would have killed in the future was not a small number. Hear this. Hiratsuka Shizuka rubbed his forehead. Obviously this guy is from the rich generation, and he is so good looking, so he could easily attract thousands of beauties outside. But in schools, these elements are combined. Only one problem student will be born. Are you going to ask someone to do something for you? Even so, at least you have to give me a note of leave in advance, and at least let me know what you did. Although I know you don't have a guardian. But precisely because of this, you can easily become the target of kidnappers. You have to report the situation even if you don't come to class on weekdays. Hiratsuka Shizu sighed helplessly. Faced with the beautiful teacher's concern, Yuan also smiled and replied. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Shizuka Hiratsuka. By the way, teacher, I have a question that I'm curious about. Can I ask it? Hiratsuka Shizuka raised her eyebrows when she heard this. What is this kid going to say? Forget it, it shouldn't be a big problem. Go ahead. Yuan asked seriously, Teacher, you are so cute and beautiful, why don't you have a boyfriend yet? P.S. Indeed, the king's treasure should only have a starting demand. I, an old Uepi, have forgotten this. However, compared to the original design, I have also added the number of items in it, for example, increasing the number of elixirs and so on, and I have also reduced the magic power consumption of the Noble Phantasm to be liberated, which is almost enough to offset it. Chapter 19. The moment Yuan finished speaking. At this moment, a number sign appeared on Hiratsuka Shizu's head. You must know that age and being unmarried are her taboos. This guy obviously did it on purpose. Brush. Shizuka Hiratsuka struck directly with the sword without any politeness. When Yuan saw this, he immediately dodged and opened the hand knife lightly. Teacher, corporal punishment of students is not allowed. Especially since you have practiced fighting skills. If you accidentally hurt me, I'm afraid I will have to miss class tomorrow. Yuan blinked and said with a chuckle. And heard this. Shizuka Hiratsuka snorted softly. I am here to educate you. You are still a student now. Although you have huge wealth, if you don't study hard, there's just going to be less and less money left. Smart people must learn to make good use of their wealth. The teacher doesn't want to see the news of your bankruptcy in the future. By then it will be too late to study hard. Hiratsuka Shizu said with a serious face. Having said that, Yuan could tell at a glance that the other party was changing the subject. He said calmly without changing his expression, if that's the case, then why doesn't the teacher come and help me, for example, be my agent or something? Hearing this, Hiratsuka Shizu was speechless. Is this guy here to poach his feelings? These days, students come to poach their teachers, are they so brave? Right, teacher, think about how much money you can make in school. If you become my agent, the profit will be much greater than being a teacher. You can also buy more luxury cars you like. Hear this. Hiratsuka Shizu's head was covered with black lines, and she was staring at the handsome young man in front of her. This kid must have investigated her behind her back, otherwise how could he even know his preferences clearly? To be honest, she did have a little flutter just now. But compared to brokers, she still prefers the profession of teacher. But Yuan seemed to see what she was thinking, and immediately added, the teacher can work part-time as my agent. There is no need to quit his current job. If you think about it, rich people today are so insensitive. Teacher, if you act as my agent, you can not only organize charity activities, but also supplement the funds of the student club in the future. Actually, for Yuan, money is just a number. If you really want it, the hundreds of millions of dollars you have now are just a fraction. But letting Hiratsuka Shizuka serve as his agent can add greater convenience to his school life and also bring the relationship between the two closer. Hear these words. Hiratsuka Shizu finally fell into hesitation. But after all, she is also an adult, and she is not so easy to accept one-sided words. Ahem. You go back and make a contract and form first. I'll take a look at it first. If there's no problem, we'll talk about it then. Shizuka Hiratsuka coughed lightly. Although her family is well off, otherwise she wouldn't be able to drive a starting car. But I still use my own money on weekdays. Just based on school salary. Even at a prestigious school like Zaiwan, although the salary is good, it still has a certain limit, so Yuan's proposal is indeed a good one. Okay. Yuan agreed concisely. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, as if he already knew the other person's options. Then he left directly. It wasn't until shortly after he left that Hiratsuka Shizuka reacted. Wait, why do I keep following his lead? Obviously he is just a high school student, but he feels as if he is no less than a superior person. Hiratsuka Shizu frowned. Obviously, he doesn't show anything special in the class on weekdays. Apart from the fact that his face is really attractive, the remaining problems are quite big. He is really a mysterious young man. Hiratsuka Shizu's face was filled with emotion. But, agent. If possible, I really want to try it. Outside the office door. When Yuan came out, he saw Bai Yingwei and Xiao Diao Yuliwa standing at the door, as well as Irelai who pretended to be watching the scenery. How about it? I know the head teacher will definitely talk about you. If you don't have time, just ask for leave. Bai Yingwei pursed his lips helplessly and said with a chuckle. The little bird Eureka next to him snorted, my best friend must be busy to deal with the enemy. Absence from class is normal. The class teacher cannot understand that it is his fault. Ying Lily was originally planning to be arrogant. After hearing this, he immediately looked at the little bird Eureka with a wary look on his face. This is understandable, isn't it strange? And since then, Yuan has become your best friend. She was obviously the desk mate first. Well, it's actually nothing. The teacher is very reasonable. I just discussed my life ideals with me, but since we are all here together, let's go together. Yuan chuckled. But as soon as he finished speaking, several girls looked at each other in confusion. But, our home seems to be in trouble, right? Yuan smiled when he heard this. No problem, I'll drive you. I just got my driver's license recently. Bai Yingwei had some surprise on his face. Mr. Yuan, have you already got your driver's license? I remember you are clearly underage, right? Thanks to some connections, I finally got my driver's license. Can you even get this through connections? Damn rich people. Bai Yingwei agreed decisively, no problem. And Xiao Diao Yuliwa was also full of joy, oh. It's my partner's car. It must be a very handsome magic car. Let's go to my house together to defeat my sister. Ying Lily looked around pretending to be hesitant. Then he put his hands on his hips and hummed softly. Humph. I really can't do anything to you, so let's go back together. Chapter 20. Follow the original navigation plan. Yuan quickly arrived at Ying Lily's door in a luxury car. After all, Irie's home is considered to be in the urban area. It is much better off than the families of Kodori Eureka and Shiro Gainkei, and it is also close to the school. Ying Lily walked out of the car carrying her bag. She turned to look at Yuan, waved and said goodbye with a smile. Thanks. Although Ying Lily is a tsundere, she is not ungrateful. Yuan also nodded slightly and said with a smile, so Ying Lily, your home is over here. Can you come here as a guest when I can be free next time? Ying Lily blushed, snorted and turned away. As you wish. She muttered. He quickly left the place. Bai Yingwei, who was sitting in the back seat, slightly lifted her silver-white hair behind her earlobes, narrowed her blue eyes and asked softly. Jun Yuan, do you want to go to Ying Lily's house? In seemingly calm words. But with a hint of imperceptible anxiety and resentment. Well, after all, Irie-san's painting skills are very good and she is famous in the class. I can just ask him for some things. Yuan noticed the girl's little thoughts and explained aloud. Ying Lily's painting skills are indeed no joke. After all, just being able to participate in the art exhibition is enough to prove her strength. Certainly. If Yuan wanted to, there were ways to hire those painting masters. But since you have a beautiful girl painter by your side, why bother spending money to hire someone else? Besides, it can also bring the relationship between the two closer. That's it. Bai Yingwei breathed a sigh of relief. She thought it was because her charm was not as good as Irie's, but since it was about painting, there was nothing she could do about it. Is there anything interesting in Ying Lily's house? Yuan, as my companion, you should come to my home and defeat the Holy Adjuster in the evil administration together. Xiao Diao Yuliwa clenched his fists. That is the enemy of my evil king's true eye, in her eyes. My sister, Eureka Kodori, is an out-and-out enemy. Although he makes delicious lunches for her every day, he is very strict at home. Hearing what Zionio Yuliwa said, Yuan could only smile. Really? Next time, after all, I have to send the squad leader back later. Next time when the Holy Adjuster is not around, we will find a way to open the box together. I can accompany Rikahu here on weekdays. There are only my sister at home and him as a companion. Regarding the information about Xiao Diao Yushiwa, because there was not much plot at the beginning, Yuan did not know what was in the box. But since it's locked up, it must be something precious, right? And right there. When Ye Yuan went to the location of Xiao Diao Yuliwa's house, on the roof of a tall building in the distance, a heavily armed sniper, while waiting for the vehicle to attack, aimed at a sports car belonging to a wealthy family in the distance. He grunted in displeasure. Hey! Just to kill a kid, is it necessary to go through so much trouble? Forget it, we are all regular customers there anyway, and it's quite enjoyable to pay. I'd better complete this order seriously. He aimed his sniper scope at a girl in the car. It was the moment when he was waiting for the opportunity with ease and confirmed that he had reached the shooting range. He pulled the trigger without ceremony. Boom! The muffled gunshot sounded, and the next second the bullet flew through the air at an astonishing speed, and when it heard the sound of breaking through the air, the bullet had penetrated the car's glass. The flying shards of glass froze Xiao Diao Yuliwa for a moment. It stems from the fatal crisis felt instinctively by the body. In her mind, the lights began to flicker gradually. Is she dying? You've obviously never even had a relationship, are you going to die here? Bang! The sun pendant along her chest bloomed instantly. The bullet hit the light in midair and was bounced away as if it had come into contact with some kind of air wall. The terrifying power of the anti-material sniper rifle was completely useless in front of this brilliance. And this thing? It just happened in a short moment. When Bai Yingwei, who was sitting in the back, reacted, his pupils suddenly shrank. What just happened? Sniper. She never thought that someone would dare to snipe in Tokyo, even in the suburbs. Isn't this too audacious? And that familiar radiance, is it a magic prop made by Ye Yuan? She originally thought that this kind of prop would only be effective against cursed spirits. It seems far more than that at present. It seems that some people want to test me. Rika, are you okay? The sniper attack just now probably didn't cause any damage. You two should wait in the car for a while. Ye Yuan said calmly. He parked the car casually on a suburban road. There were no pedestrians on the surrounding roads, and he glanced at the tall buildings indifferently. A line of sight that seems to penetrate distances. At this moment, it made the sniper on the tall building have cold sweat streaming down his forehead. I was discovered. You can still see me from a distance of several thousand meters. What kind of monster is this? He couldn't help but shudder. Suddenly I remembered what my master once said. In this world, there are forces that cannot be described by common sense. Never think about killing such enemies with snipers. Otherwise, he will die miserably. No. I have to escape. While he hasn't arrived yet, blend into the crowd immediately. That guy can't go on a killing spree among the crowd. Sniper instant analysis. After clarifying the situation, he immediately ran away as if he had abandoned his armor. He just accepted a mission, but he had no intention of leaving his life behind. Ye Yuan glanced at Rika, who was still shocked. He looked at Bai Yingwei and said, "Take care of Rika. With my magic tools to protect her, I can sense any accidents." Subsequently, Ye Yuan took out a helmet from the king's treasure. Putting it on the head unceremoniously, the figure disappeared in an instant. Chapter 21. Ye Yuan suddenly disappeared on the spot, startling Bai Yingwei. This was the first time she witnessed the other party using his abilities. Is it possible to actually disappear? But thinking about the magic props that can block bullets, it seems to be a matter of course for him to be invisible. Rika-kun, are you okay? Shirogane turned to look at the distracted Rika and asked with concern. Although Rika is usually a bit of a mediocre kid, there is no doubt that he is a good kid. She didn't want anything unexpected to happen to the other party. It's okay. What was the brilliance just now? Kodori Yurika asked softly. She subconsciously looked at the gold jewelry on her chest and made a new discovery. Gold jewelry originally shaped like a solar eclipse. The gap is larger than before. That's Ye Yuan-kun's magic prop. It's very magical, isn't it? But looking at your jewelry, I guess by the time the gap is as big as the sun, the magic power inside will be completely exhausted and disappear. Bai Yingwei explained aloud. She also looked at the gold jewelry curiously. An accessory that can easily block an anti-tank sniper rifle. If it were placed outside, I don't know how many rich people would try hard to take a picture of it. I'm afraid even tens of millions of dollars would not be enough. After all, compared to those who are truly rich, your life is more important than money. She finally understood the gold content of the piece of jade jewelry that Ye Yuan gave him as a gift. Magic props. Kotori Yurika muttered this word. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she would never believe it. Although I often talk about magic and so on. But she also understood deep down that there was no such thing in the real world. But now. The scene just now completely broke her cognition. The piece of gold jewelry Yuan gave to himself turned out to be an extremely precious magic prop. Monitor, you don't look surprised. Have you known this before? Zionio Yuliwa was excited in her heart. Her father's sudden death in the past is a fact that she still cannot accept. She believes that her father is in a parallel world on the other side of the invisible realm and is suffering from Chuyunibu in search of the invisible realm. But now, she has witnessed the true transcendence. This is like fate for her. I guess. In fact, I only knew it for 2 days. Bai Yinghui replied hesitantly and calmly. Then can you tell me about magic items, magic power, and other extraordinary things? Kotori Yurika asked with a serious face. After finally seeing the extraordinary existence, she was not going to give up easily. Bai Yinghui groaned after hearing this. Okay, anyway, even if I don't tell you, you will definitely ask Mr. Yuan. This time someone is eyeing you for no reason, and maybe it has something to do with KO fan. Let me introduce you to Mr. Yuan first. Bai Yinghui coughed lightly. Under the expectant gaze of Kotori Yurika, he began to introduce what he knew, such as the existence of curses and curse spirits, as well as magic power and magic circuits. Or maybe it's the magic props the two of them currently have. Crowds of people on the streets. A seemingly ordinary middle-aged man, wearing the same clothes as an ordinary office worker, walked out of the door of a high-rise building slowly and unhurriedly. Soon he blended in with the crowd. Based on his experience as a killer, he subconsciously observed his surroundings and breathed a sigh of relief when he found no signs of tracking. Phew! Finally got rid of that guy. There are actually guys in this world who can't be shot by anti-material sniper rifles. It's just as Master said, there are secrets hidden behind the world. Compared to those real monsters, this kind of bullet has no effect at all. Sure enough, the money was so readily given this time. Sure enough, there is some inside story. He cursed inwardly. Fortunately, I entered the crowd in the first place. According to the rules of those people, even if you find yourself, you can't kill him openly in the crowd, right? The next step is to stay in crowded places as much as possible. Get out of here now. Sure enough, what my colleagues said is right, that employer is not so easy to make money. He thought secretly in his heart. Although he does not know the true identity and background of his employer. But we have cooperated several times and received generous rewards from each other. But this time the target of the attack was completely different. Even the sniper bullets were actually intercepted. They were living monsters. I won't accept such a commission next time. Zilla. Suddenly, the middle-aged man stopped. He slowly lowered his head in a daze. The red blood gradually stained the white shirt. It looked like there was nothing, but his heart was penetrated by some kind of sharp weapon. Ahem. He coughed painfully, a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth, his face was as pale as paper, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. When the invisible sword was pulled out from his chest, his body seemed to have suddenly lost its support, and he stared blankly at his chest, blood gushing out from the wound like spring water. Thump! The body fell suddenly. It attracted the attention of those walking around on the street, especially the blood spurting out. The passers-by were immediately shocked and moved away from the fallen man. He's hurt. What just happened? Why did this person suddenly collapse? Hush! It's better not to meddle in other people's business. Let's get out of here quickly and don't get involved in such a troublesome thing. I ask for monthly tickets, flowers, and evaluation votes every day. There are 4 more chapters updated. If you have any characters you want to appear in, please mention them here. After the magic world is fully revealed, there will be foreshadowing of other world views, so stay tuned. Chapter 22. In a deserted alley not far away. After Yuan took off his helmet, his figure was revealed. He casually took back the treasure of the king and the invisible sword in his hand. Resolve and call it a day. Yuan stretched. The helmet he just used was Hades's invisibility helmet. It can be said that it is an original invisibility treasure phantom that has been followed throughout history and at home and abroad. It cannot be observed using magic and optical methods. Used against targets that rely entirely on magic to search for enemies. Sometimes it works to great effect. And in this world, he found that even the magic power could not detect his invisible state, but the sound, smell, body temperature, etc. would be detected by technology. But even so, it can be regarded as having great usability. I originally planned to torture him. But that guy probably doesn't know much. I might as well go back and search for some information sellers. Anyway, just enough money is enough. Yuan groaned. He actually already had several guesses in mind. But it would be better for the client to collect information. It would be bad if someone wants to plot against him from the dark side. Think of this. Yuan glanced at the fallen man not far away. He turned around and left the alley. Under Bai Yinghui's explanation, Kodari Yurika finally came to understand the existence of spellcasters, magicians, and the power of spells and spell spirits that endanger human safety. For a time, yearning and curiosity arose in my heart about these. I am also grateful to Yuan. After all, if there is no other party. She had died just now because of the sniper rifle bullet. It was only thanks to the magic props given by Yuan that she managed to survive. By the way, what are you doing, Mr. Yuan? Xiaodiao Yuliwa looked around and found that Yuan was not there. He looked at Bai Yinghui with some confusion, waiting for the other party's answer. If I'm not mistaken, he should have dealt with the sniper just now. After all, for him, this is equivalent to provoking him face to face. Bai Yinghui said with a serious face. Based on her knowledge of Yuan, a guy like this who comes to provoke me, probably won't end well. Hey! Aren't you going to be in danger? That's a killer with a gun. It's not that easy to find him. Zionio Yaliaka was shocked when he heard this. He asked quickly. After all, even firearms don't work in her opinion. But as a young man, if Yuan wants to deal with a professional killer, there is more or less the possibility of capsizing in the gutter. Pfft! Bai Yinghui covered his mouth and chuckled upon seeing this. Rika-kun, you care a lot about Mr. Yuan, but don't worry, he never does anything he's not sure about. A mere killer is certainly nothing to him. Bai Yinghui said solemnly. She is quite confident in Yuan's strength. After all, he is sure to deal with even the special level curse spirits, which are the most terrifying curse spirits. What does a mere killer mean? Is that so? Kodari Yurika's cheeks were slightly red with embarrassment. She does have a good impression of Yuan in her heart, otherwise she wouldn't have given him such a gift in return at the cinema. And while the two were talking, not far away, then came the chuckle of a familiar boy. Yo, I'm back. Yuan walked forward with a smile. I have already dealt with the guy who was responsible for the assassination just now, but don't worry, there won't be any evidence left. Under the boy's calm voice, Bai Yinghui walked forward and blinked, looked at Yuan's body, and breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that he was not injured. Well, Yuan-kun, I just introduced this knowledge about magic props and conjurers to Rika-san, should it be okay? After all, she has seen what happened. Bai Yinghui asked softly. Her eyes were fixed on Yuan, her cheeks flushed slightly. Seeing this, Yuan reached out his hand and rubbed the silver-haired girl's silky hair. Of course it's no problem. Thanks to you, I was spared the effort of explaining. Yuan smiled. His eyes were on the little bird Yurika. Noticing the girl's slightly envious eyes, he thought for a while and then walked forward and came to Kodari Yurika. Rika, do you want to be a magician? First of all, if you want to become a magician, you must pay a price. In a sense, it means signing a contract with me. Yuan said straight to the point. He doesn't intend to be a bad person. You have to know that the elixir that can create a magic circuit will take a lot of time even if he wants to make it. This is still under the blessing of medicinal materials with the king's treasure. Hear this. Xiaodiao Yuliwa was stunned at first. She couldn't hold back the excitement in her heart, and stared at Yuan seriously with her petite and cute face. Excuse me, what kind of contract is it? Yuan-jun. Xiaodiao Yuliwa's palms grasped the corners of her skirt, her eyes full of nervousness, and her slender legs wrapped in black knee-length socks came into view. Well, you can take a look first. If you are willing to accept it, you can send me a message. Yuan said with a smile. He took out a piece of paper from his arms and handed it to the girl in front of him. After Xiaodiao Yuliwa took it and glanced at it, her cheeks turned red. Next to him, Bai Yinghui stepped forward. She looked at Yuan with suspicion on her face. Mr. Yuan, the contract you call is probably something related to SESE, right? How is that possible? Do you think I look like this kind of person? Yuan shook his head. What he handed to Kotori Yurika was a love contract. His affinity with the other party was already very high, but after this experience, he was confident enough to win over this petite and cute girl. Well, I'll think about it. Kotori Yurika teased the hair beside her ears with her fingertips, and her cheeks exposed from the swaying hair were stained with a blush due to shyness. Even so, she had already made a choice in her heart. Chapter 23. After. Yuan continued to drive the sports car and sent Zionio Yaliwa home. Although the original bullet holes in the glass were a bit shocking, Yuan quickly used magic to repair them. At least on the surface, there was no problem. A simple layout is enough. Looking at Rika, who returned to the apartment room. Hey! Yuan stretched. Mr. Yuan, what happened to the prisoner with the sniper rifle? Bai Yingwei, who was sitting in the back, couldn't help but ask. When Xiaodiao Yuliwa was in the car. Considering the other party's emotions, she didn't ask any more questions, but it was different now. Well, simply put. He should have been certified dead by now. If nothing else, he will be cremated tomorrow. There is no suitable cemetery for him anyway. Yuan said with a slightly teasing tone. These words made Bai Yingwei's pupil shrink, which meant that the previous sniper was now killed by Yuan in the blink of an eye. He was obviously just a peer who looked about the same age as her. But the decisiveness of the attack was far beyond imagination. Of course, Bai Yingyu didn't sympathize with the sniper, but was a little surprised that the magician ignored the terrifying power of modern weapons. For a while, she couldn't help but feel a little lucky in her heart. Fortunately, he met Mr. Yuan first, otherwise he would be targeted by a curse spirit or a curse master in the future, and he would definitely be dead in the future. And even the truth of her death will be completely covered up. Well, Mr. Yuan, let's go home first. After this assassination, will the other side give up now? Bai Yingwei leaned on the back of Yuan's seat and asked softly. Of course, the abilities I have demonstrated so far are enough for them to put an end to the idea of using modern conventional weapons to solve the problem. If we want to take action next, we should send out some magicians. Yuan started the engine and said with a chuckle. No matter what the purpose of the next Xiaoyuja is. Now as long as he accumulates enough magic power, he will never be at a disadvantage, and the most important thing is that he has that thing in his hands. Just use it once. Even if the magic world and the magic spirits join forces to fight against him, there is nothing to fear. But just Xiaoyu is not worthy of him using such a treasure. If you really want to use it, then Yuan will choose the right time and use the right method to make a move that allows him to succeed once and for all. Go home first. I still need the monitor to help me study in the evening. Yuan specially emphasized the word study, which made Bai Yingwei's cheeks turn red in the seat behind him, and he subconsciously tightened his legs slightly. But she didn't show any weakness on her lips. Well, then I want to see Mr. Yuan's progress. Branch of Pengxing Cult. The headquarters of the Society of Time Instruments. The interior of the tall building is open and spacious, and the dark marble and white walls can be as bright as new with just a sweep. A senior church official was wearing a suit and standing in the hall. And in front of him, it was Xiaoyuja wearing 5 cassocks. The commissioned assassin was killed. The assassin was killed quietly among the crowd, but the strange thing is that no trace of the spell could be found on his body. Unable to proceed to next step. There were traces of being pierced by a sword at the heart, but the strange thing is that no one at the scene saw any murder. The senior management looked at Xiaoyuja in front of him seriously and reported the latest situation. And after hearing these words, Xiaoyuja lowered his eyebrows, as if he was thinking, and raised his dark straight sleeves. No, there is no need. Just confirm the death. Where is the girl who was assassinated? Hear this. The senior management shook his head helplessly. According to the latest information, the girl seems to be safe and sound. It is impossible to confirm whether it is caused by magic or other means. Do we need to continue hiring people to carry out assassinations? Honestly, the killer's mission completion rate is quite high on weekdays. But this time it was just an assassination attempt on a young girl. It was a mistake, but he was actually killed in the street. It was really surprising. I see. Xiaoyuja squinted his eyes. He was sitting seriously like a Buddha sitting on a high altar, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. The information is confirmed to this point. It is certain that the death of the real person is absolutely inseparable from the boy named Yuan. And from the information collected so far, the other party also has some kind of triggering spell, or a spell in this regard. There is also the suspected invisibility effect. A guy like this, even for a person who has lived for thousands of years, is an extremely rare situation. Do you need to send someone to continue testing? No, let those guys in the magic world test it. They should also be curious about what happened in the warehouse. If it can trigger a conflict between the two, it would be the best thing. Xiaoyujin narrowed his eyes slightly. If you want to get something done, you often don't need to do it yourself. On the contrary, if this young man can attract the attention of the magic specialist, then he can start taking action in advance. Take out the fingers from the Conjuring Academy. After that, he would think of a way to make the already prepared container, Hishido the Japanese knotweed swallow those fingers, and he would be able to speed up certain movements significantly. Although the time is a bit early. But as long as Gojo Satoru can be sealed, the rest will be much easier. Xiaoyujin narrowed his eyes and confirmed the next plan. Well, that's enough. Let those old men in the magic world worry about this. Chapter 24. Friday. In the afternoon classroom. As the bell rang, the invigilator put away the test papers. Many students stretched themselves one after another, and several people formed a small group, laughing and talking among themselves. Phew, the semester exams are finally over. Yet, how confident are you this time? Don't fail the exam then. It's definitely no problem to pass, but on the contrary, you are asking us to apply for a black account every day during the summer vacation. I'm afraid you will fail by then. And Yuan sighed. There are also figures surrounding several people. How about, I guess these questions are not difficult for you. It will be no problem to get a high score this time, right? Bai Yingwei walked forward with a smile. She knows Yuan's level well. Now Yuan is facing a problem of this level and it is easy to solve it. Hearing this, Ying Lily, who was not far away, was surprised. Bai Yingwei praised Yuan like this. Could it be that his grades are actually very good? It's not bad, I should be fine with a perfect score. Yuan smiled and replied, it's just a perfect score on the entrance exam. My goal is to win the first place in grade this midterm and final. You call this okay? Bai Yingwei's head was full of black lines. Even though Yuan had only studied for a few days, he actually said that he wanted to take the first place in the grade. What's even more annoying is that the other party may actually be able to do it. My contractor, should we go home together? Xiaodiao Yuliwa came over and asked seriously with a slight snort. After the last sniper attack. In the past few days, there have been no more unexpected situations, which made the originally worried Xiaodiao Yuliwa relieved. Even if you have magic props, you will still be somewhat afraid of bullets. Well, let's go. By the way, did you read the book I gave you yesterday carefully? Yuan agreed with Liuhua's statement and suddenly asked. In these short few days, he was not idle either. He taught the little birds Eureka and Shirogain part of what he knew. The former is very interested in these, while the latter is quite intelligent. There should be no problem in learning. Don't underestimate my evil king's true eye. It's easy to memorize such a spell book. Xiaodiao Yuliahua put his hands on his hips, full of pride. Yeah, that's great. Yuan nodded seriously, but his palm grabbed Liuhua's soft cheek, deliberately squeezing the soft flesh back and forth and pulling it. I'm looking forward to the next trial. Xiaodiao Yulihua's cheeks turned red as she broke away from the boy's clutches and glanced to the side shyly. Contractor, just wait and see. Look at Rika's posture. Yuan smiled when he saw this, and left the classroom with the little birds Yu Liuhua and Bai Yingwei beside him. Soon. In a huge classroom. Inside the original small group. Only Ying Lily was left, sitting on the chair in a daze. Her dazzling golden twin ponytails hung down beside her, and her white and lovely face had an absent-minded expression as she looked at the figure that was getting away. When did the relationship between Shirogain, Rika, and Yuan start to get so good? Ying Lily was confused. She was obviously the one who came first. Whether it's a desk mate or a friend, she should come first. But why, it was Bai Yingwei and Xiao Diao Yuliwa who took the lead in becoming so close to Ye Yuan. Ying Lily bit her lip, her eyes full of unwillingness. A vague sense of panic began to emerge in her heart. The memories of her past interactions with the boy came to her mind, making her feel more and more reluctant to let him go, and she subconsciously clenched her fists. No. She must get Ye Yuan back from those vixens. In the familiar villa hall. Ye Yuan was sitting at the table in the hall, narrowing his eyes. It's almost time to get started. As for Kodori Yurika and Shiro Gainkei, he sent them home. Bai Yinkei had stayed with him for several days. If they didn't go home again, it will definitely arouse questions and suspicion from people in the family. And after spending the past few days together, Bai Yingwei's body also needs a good rest. Kodori Yurika and Shiro Gainkei become magicians. At that time, I can bring out the precious phantoms in the king's treasure. If necessary, I can even directly mobilize the magic power in their bodies. It is also equivalent to increasing the upper limit of magic power in disguise. He nodded with satisfaction. For him, there are many benefits to having the two of them become magicians. The first is to protect him without being distracted at ordinary times, and then after training in the future, he can also become his subordinate. With the help of the power of the Noble Phantasm. Even when faced with special level curse spirits, he is still capable of fighting. After a while, we will be able to form our own team. Ye Yuan squinted his eyes slightly. Just as he was thinking about it, his cell phone vibrated on the table. Hey? Is it a text message from Kei or Rika? Ye Yuan picked up the phone and opened it when he saw it was a new message. Caught in his eyes. But it was a friend request from a stranger. And in the remarks below. Then, I am Yatsuya Maiko from Class A of the first year, can you save me? The problem with PS sniper rifle bullets is actually like a revolving lantern, a technique of expression that often bleeds in anime. Maybe I didn't write it well, I will pay more attention to this aspect next time. Also, please give me a monthly pass. Ask for a rating vote. Please give me flowers. Chapter 25. Inside the Yatsuya family's apartment. Lying on the soft bed in the bedroom was a beautiful girl with long black hair. Her hair hung softly on the bed sheets, like a dark flower. The girl held the phone in both hands, her golden eyes full of exhaustion and anticipation, staring at the screen of the phone as if grasping the last straw. It was Yatsuya Maiko. Not long ago, probably a month ago, she could inexplicably see those unclean things on a rainy night. And this is only a short month. The existence of these ghosts made Yatsuya Maiko exhausted, until she suddenly saw a scene while wandering around the school a few days ago. An evil spirit. It was originally located in the alley of the school. But as a handsome young man walked in and just stood there without doing anything, the evil spirit quickly retreated as if it sensed some kind of threat. But in the end it was destroyed by a ray of light that suddenly appeared on the young man's body. She has never seen such a powerful guy. It was only after she went to the forum to search for information that she discovered that the boy was Ye Yuan, the school's famous eldest son. So she was in this week. I tried my best to get contact information from other people. After all, if you talk about ghosts and monsters with classmate Ye Yuan in person, it will be bad if you are regarded as a weirdo. You still have to get in touch with him slowly first. I have to trust Ye Yuan. I have tried all kinds of ways to get rid of the spirits before, but there is still no effect. I hope that classmate Ye Yuan can help, at least to get rid of the cursed spirits in the house. Yatsuya Maiko thought to herself. Looking at the phone screen anxiously, waiting for the reply to the friend request. In the villa. Ye Yuan sat on a chair, holding his phone with one hand and squinting his eyes. Yoko Maiko. It can be considered as someone who was born with the yin-yang eyes awakened. Among spellcasters and yin-yang masters, he can be considered to have a certain amount of talent. It's a pity that his body is too weak. But she looks pretty cute. Ye Yuan thought for a while, recalling the pitiful girl who was frightened by ghosts, and casually agreed to the friend application. Sent a message by the way. Ye Yuan, this is Yatsuya Maiko-san, what's the matter? Yoko Maiko, Senior Ye Yuan, do you believe that there are such things as ghosts in this world? Ye Yuan, of course I believe it. Did Yatsuya-san come here just for things related to ghosts? Did he encounter any situation? When Yatsuya Maiko saw the reply on the bed, her eyes lit up with surprise. She didn't expect that Ye Yuan would ask such an open-minded question. But thinking back on my experiences these days, She couldn't help but feel hopeful. Could it be that these days of fear are finally over? Yoko Maiko, yes, yes. I don't know why, starting from about a month ago, I have been able to see supernatural and weird things. Yoko Maiko, everything I said is true. Yuan, well, I know it's true, but this kind of thing is easy to solve, but your eyes can be useful sometimes. Yuan, according to different situations, the charging standards are also different. Yotani Maiko, well, as long as it's the reward I can give, it's okay. If it's not enough, I can get a student loan. Yotsuya Maiko stared at the phone screen seriously. She has really had enough of those inexplicable monsters these days. And the most important thing is, since the last time she worshipped at the shrine on the mountain, she has had 3 chances to save her life. Once discovered and attacked by monsters. There will be 2 humanoid foxes wearing kimonos coming out to protect you. But now there was only the last of the 3 opportunities for protection, and she had a vague premonition in her heart that once these 3 opportunities to save her life were used up, something bad will happen. Yuan, don't worry, the reward I ask for won't be too excessive. Anyway, let's arrange to meet the day after tomorrow. Yuan, we can discuss the rest in detail in person, should it be okay? Maiko Yotsuya, okay. Thank you, senior. Yotsuya Maiko saw the last reply. Wah! That's great. She suddenly let out a sigh of relief and slumped down, burying her head directly in the pillow, shaking her white legs with rare joy. The corners of Yotsuya Maiko's mouth turned up slightly, and her tired eyes were full of expectation. With the help of Senior Yuan, we can definitely deal with those monsters. At least I can finally get a good night's sleep. When he thought of this, Yotsuya Mitsuko clenched his fists to cheer himself up. Since we have to meet with Senior Yuan the day after tomorrow, we must prepare well and never leave a bad impression on Senior. Well, let's break open the piggy bank and see how much is saved. Yotsuya Maiko thought for a while. I decided to open the jar where I have always kept my lucky money. Since others are planning to help her, she must not be stingy. Well, let's do this for now. I'm going out tomorrow to do something interesting. After Yuan finished replying, he stretched. A smile appeared on his lips and he opened the current properties panel. Name, Yuan ability, King's Treasure, the ability to connect to the Golden City, connected to the space of the treasure house, and the props in it can be taken out freely. Each item taken out requires 1 point of magic power, omniscient and omnipotent star, seeing all corners of the earth like a star, understanding everything, and aware of the truth and weaknesses behind the mystery. Current magic value, 2200/2200 items, Scabbard Avalon, X-level defensive treasure, First Aid Potion 10, Energy Potion 5, Magic Incendiary Bottle 5, Powerful Regeneration Potion 10, several gems. Number of accumulated sign-in days, 2 days, yes/no sign-in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.